Welcome to the Steamy Studio. It's April the something. It's the 2nd. It's the 2nd. You know how I know?
How do you know?
Because yesterday was the 1st.
You got fooled.
And you
Didn't
listen to First of the Month all day long.
They got you.
Did
they
Bone
get
Thugs
to
and
you?
Harmony got you.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Did they get to you?
Who?
Them? Yeah.
They. Whoever.
Were you fooled at all?
Them who orchestrates the
Those who would fool?
April Fool's
I feel like
conspiracy.
the whole thing is so... I don't know, like what did we as a people just eventually just go like, oh fucking who has time for this
I
shit?
feel like that's where it was getting to the last couple of years, and now
Yeah.
it's starting to come back.
It feels like it came back in the form of like, okay, we did a joke, but no, we really did the thing.
Right.
Yes.
Like that's you know,
And those are fun.
I thought
the
usually.
Pandaren thing.
Yeah, kind of. I thought that was
Extended
good for that Skyrim for Alexa at E3 a year or two. You remember that?
Sure,
a couple years
yeah.
ago? Like that was a pretty good joke.
Yeah,
But now everybody's doing that, and on the day that you expect the jokes,
I guess
it's not as good.
I tried to remain offline. I didn't want to deal with it.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Online is
In life, I think that's
Yeah,
usually a good
not
place to be.
a good place to be.
I don't know. It seemed like what was it? There was like the For Honor,
The
Rabbids
Rabbids
and
and For
Rabbids
Honor
thing.
Sounds like it was fun enough.
Sure.
Also, I think that's over, right? It was just for yesterday.
Probably, yeah.
Tim Kitzrow doing voiceover for Rage 2.
Oh, that's just true. But that game's not out.
Yeah, that's
For a while,
Yeah. But they put
so-
out a trailer, so you can pretty much get an idea of what it is.
That's
which
just a
is
weird thing to like. That feels like barely associated with
It's
like
a weird-
April Fools. It's just like, all right, yeah, here's here's a goofy thing we did.
Also, just a weird mashup.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
NBA Jam is great and all, but when I think of Rage 2, I don't necessarily think of Basket.
yeah. Well,
I don't know.
It's, like shit blows up.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of things on fire.
There are a
in
lot
that
of things.
game.
Yeah, there are a lot of things where one might say a boom shakalaka could fit.
There's. I don't know if you watched that trailer. There is some custom dialogue though. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
there's a bunch of like, oh, his head just exploded. You know, like
Yeah.
Rage specific stuff. That it's just like a kind of a weird fit. But I mean,
I think there's
kinda
something
cool.
there's something like funny about like narrating, like commentating
Sure.
a first person
Sure.
shooter
Yes.
in that specific way. I think can work. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be Tim Kitzrow. It needs to be like the NBA Jam kind of reference that comes with. But
yeah, I guess that's what is weird
But
for
it
me.
fits
is-
pretty well.
But yeah, sure.
yeah.
Why not?
I'll
Yeah.
I'll try it when it comes out for sure.
Yeah.
It seemed funny enough.
yeah, that was good.
I feel like those were the
those are
only
two
ones I
that
saw.
stuck out to me.
Yeah.
Some hardware site announced some like the new Intel GPU and made it sound completely incredible,
Sure.
which is not a funny joke at all.
Yeah, right.
It's
Like-
just fake news.
Well,
I started to say fake
there
news.
you go, yeah. But like that was what it was supposed to be, right? I mean, it was supposed to be like, hey, we're fucking straight up lying to your ass to trick you into a thing. So I feel like
that one got a lot of people. So
well, there you go. Good on him, I guess.
I guess
That was the original spirit of this whole thing, right? Sure. Was here's some dumb shit.
That's some bads.
And then it just, at some point, it became like, it became, and I think we were guilty of this at GameSpot a few years for sure, where it became like, here's an opportunity for people who are not comedy writers to try to write comedy poorly.
sure.
And it was like,
Well, there weren't
okay.
a lot of venues for that back then.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
took
nice
what you
work.
could
This
get.
was not funny at all.
Yeah.
It's like, great. You kind of wrote a half lie that is like vaguely humorous.
I'm trying to remember how much we leaned.
My
into
shit was
that.
funny. Fuck everybody else, though.
Did we do like a whole day's worth of stories?
Yeah.
fake
It
stories.
was like everyone,
Okay.
it was like a set of columns.
Right. Yes.
And yeah, that was where the image of it was like the Tandy catalog, but with Ving Rhames on it.
Okay.
Because Ryan and I had cooked up. Okay, they're going to bring back like Radio Shack's getting into the console business, but like Ving Rhames is the spokesperson.
Tandy 64.
And so it was just like we just got to write a bunch of fake.
Sure.
You know, like no one was fooled by that.
Right.
But it was fun to sit down and write a bunch of fake video games.
Sure. We did the day of top 10 lists here one time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
That
we
was
did.
that was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Game Informer would have like a mini magazine called Game Enforcer, which was usually pretty good.
Yeah.
And never forget the original. Well, not the original, but probably the best, like the Shenlong.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
That was such
was
a
that
good one.
was that April Fool's or was that just
It
a
was.
random?
That was an
joke?
April Fool's.
It was in the April issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think is like just kind of canonically.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, that's the good one because it's like fucked, right?
Yep.
It's hard to verify.
And they did a
at
good
the
job
time.
of faking the screenshots.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
it was convincing.
You looked at it when like, well, I guess I need to try to beat this thing on super hard and not lose and do all this other stuff. And so some people set out to do that. Yeah. And then so some people presumably did it and then we're like, what the fuck? Why didn't it work?
Why not?
Which is even better.
Does the Kano morph fall into this category? I know it wasn't like it timed with April, but it was it. was that an intentional hoax or was that just like a rumor that
Which
got
one was
started?
that one?
In MK2?
So
Yeah.
that was,
supposedly, like the service mode supposedly had references to like a Kanomorph and maybe a Soniamorph.
So I think that they had like it was like Watch Dogs. It was like stuff that would like, hey, if this incremented to 1, it meant something happened in the game.
Right.
Like, hey, this is a bug that happened.
Oh, that's right.
And instead of just calling it like whatever it was, I think they just renamed it to Kanomorph.
Okay.
That rings a bell.
Because I mean, that's kind of the same way that Ermac got started. Right?
Yeah, like error macro was supposedly
looking,
what that.
Looking in the system.
And so you'd have cases like Smash TV had a thing even where if it encountered a weird bug, it would just like recover. Like part of the bug recovery was it would recover, take you to a different level, and just be like secret warp number 7, and try to get you back into the game.
Those stories about old game development about papering over bugs by making it look intentional are my favorite development stories. What was the Genesis? Oh man, what game was it? Somebody realized recently or in the last few years I think it's a Genesis game that you can get a level skip by literally physically hitting the console.
Oh sure, yeah.
And it's because you're causing some kind of fault in the game, and their recovery from that is to dump you to like a select menu.
Yeah.
So they just made it official or something.
There were a lot of not a lot, but there were like magazines. I think EGM were like they were printing codes for Genesis games that were like, put in this game, do this, then pull this game out and put it in the game you want to play.
While
hit
it's
reset.
still on,
and because of the way it didn't clear memory, you would get something out of it, and it was always like, hey, do this at your own risk. It's gonna fuck something, but like that shit, I did that. It worked.
And that was the premise of like, the Game Genie. That's exactly what it would do. Is
sort of kind of, yeah. It was just like, hey, we're going to, Game Genie, that was the difference. The Game Genie were basically like, it was modifications to the ROM end of things, and the action replay / like Game Shark end of things were all about like freezing RAM.
Okay.
But yeah, same basic idea.
Of course, there's the classic Wing Commander thing. There's a Wing Commander 2.
Oh, I don't remember.
That thing where they had a bug that they could not figure out in time for ship. That was like they were basically dumping their memory manager every time you exited the game. It would just say like some EMM 386 error at the DOS command line when you quit the game. So they just hex edited the executable to make that say thank you for playing Wing Commander.
Perfect. Yeah.
And ship the game. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, that was what was the was that SSX? Where it was like the height of EA's like T-pose problem, like post NBA Elite. It was like a game that had the same problem, but they made the game hard crash if it T-posed.
Oh wow!
Because they would rather have a hard crash.
Somehow that looks better than Well, that doesn't result in a bunch of embarrassing screenshots going around making your game look ridiculous.
It's like Anthem could have maybe used some of that.
Thanks.
Some C-posing.
Did you ever get your hands on a copy of NBA Elite, did you?
No, they're out there.
Do you know anybody that has one? Or?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
I don't know how valuable those actually are.
I think PS3 copies are less rare than Xbox, maybe? I don't remember. That was something where I remember inquiring, and maybe this was, I don't know if asking was maybe the wrong move because it tipped them off or whatever. But I remember like just mentioning offhand to someone at EA, it's like, so, what if we got a hold of one of these NBA Elites and started streaming it? And the implication was just like, like lawyers would get in touch. Like they were just like, yeah, no, we would not look upon that favorably to the point where we would, it was just basically like, okay.
Damn.
Do they have,
good to know.
I'm no lawyer, but do they have legal footing for that? I could like in terms of your
they could
relationship
maybe,
with them.
Yeah, well,
of course they
whatever.
Could like blacklist you, but
sure.
But if you bought it legitimately.
Well, I think the idea is like no one bought it legitimately because it never went on sale. So at some point,
never made it to
like
a store.
The case they would try to make is like, hey, all of these copies were stolen.
I see. Sure. Yeah. Okay.
And so that would be the
okay. So it never made it to retail. It wasn't that it got out there and then they recalled it before release or something like that.
I believe that's the case. So maybe but copies were in a warehouse somewhere, right? And so there's stuff out there.
Huh.
Yeah, I think it's my understanding is it's just a very unremarkable basketball game with some bugs. So it's almost not even,
a lot of T-posing.
Yeah.
And they were just like, no, son, we're not going to release it
after
at all.
So after the demo came out, and then people just clowned on it so fucking hard. It was like the demo was full of all the T-posing.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And so the demo was so broken that they had to reassess. And I think they sat down and looked at what they were getting ready to ship. And we're just like, okay,
bunch of T-poses.
like, what do we need to do to get it to where it is not this? And then they looked at like the window of shipping a basketball game, and they were like, okay, we're gonna push past that if we want to fix this stuff. So forget it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then
This wasn't worth it.
This wasn't worth it.
Their old franchise was NBA Live, and they went back to that.
They eventually
right?
brought back NBA Live.
And that also was a disaster, right?
Yeah, I think they
the first couple years of that, like a giant mess.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the year of EA apologies. I think.
Yes. Well, one of them.
The first like rebooted NBA Live. Yeah, right. The first rebooted NBA Live was a part of that year.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really play those games. My understanding, talking to Alex, was like at some point NBA Live became competent but unexciting.
Sure.
So at best, or at some points, I don't know.
Not everybody is into basketball, but everybody loves a train wreck.
Yeah.
So
sign me up.
Yep.
I think that's the Frostbite tagline.
Huh.
Frostbite back in the news this morning.
Yeah, I hear.
Yeah.
Were there any Frostbite games at PAX, Jeff?
I don't even know.
That's my segue.
That's my
segue.
I don't think EA was there.
Yeah, definitely not. How was PAX?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was PAX.
It was PAX.
I heard it was hot. Which is or
unseasonably warm.
Well, yeah, maybe hot is too much.
I mean, it got to the low 60s.
Okay.
Well, that's
so
I heard
it was not snow on the ground
compared to the
yeah.
Boston PAXs I went to. That was pretty wild.
There's definitely been some that
there were piles of snow and icy sidewalks.
I feel like it's a crapshoot. You know, like and they move it 1 week here, 1 week there. They nudge it back and forth, but it was fine weather-wise.
Sure.
Yeah, we went and did our panels. Had a good time. Met a lot of people. Shook a lot of hands.
A lot of Purell then.
Yeah, I didn't bring my own, which was I was sweating it, but
you sound fine.
I took I made a lot of use of the hand sanitizer just around the convention.
Okay. Sometimes those get me a little bit skeptical because everyone is using them and just dripping the rest of their Purell onto the ground.
I was reading recently, like somebody that worked on a cruise liner saying that basically hand sanitizer can be like a double-edged sword because there are, especially in on a cruise ship, there are like some of the nastier like GI viruses that the hand sanitizer does not kill.
Yeah,
I hear bad stuff about that.
So people like feel complacent that they're using hand sanitizer all the time and stop washing their hands.
Right,
and then and then the entire ship gets norovirus.
Perfect,
basically. Yeah. So
they just need better hand sanitizer.
Back up your hand sanitizer with a good wash now and then. Yeah, is all I'm saying.
Just a little bit of each.
Yes.
Yeah. No. So. For me, I think the interesting thing about PAX was just kind of getting around and taking the temperature, kind of post GDC.
Yeah,
of where people were at with video games.
It wasn't as bad. I guess it wasn't as bad as the year that they literally overlapped, but pretty close.
Right. Yeah. Very, very close. By
a matter of days.
And yeah, just kind of like, oh, hey, this Google stuff, it just happened. What do you think? Right. Like, hey, how you feeling about new console business? All that sort of stuff.
What's the word out there? You're comfortable repeating.
Yeah. I feel like the vibe, and I saw a lot of this on Twitter, and then it was backed up a little bit locally talking to people at PAX, but it feels like people came out of GDC kind of angry for a variety. Developers. Okay. For just a variety of reasons of just like kind of where the business is at. And we are very much in the transition right now already. If you're thinking about things at that scale of just like, okay, you're making decisions about games that are going to ship 2 years from now or whatever. Suddenly it's like, okay, well, where am I going to put these games? Because PS4, Xbox One is not likely to be the place in 2 years' time, or in 1 year's time, I guess.
Is it still crazy to anybody else that we're saying that?
It feels weird.
Like they still feel like the new consoles.
The half-step generational stuff with the Pro and the X, I think, really fucked up your perception of time.
Maybe that is part of it. But also, it just doesn't feel like that long ago since they came out to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because the last generation was so long.
Yeah.
That these still feel like the new ones.
That's probably part of it. And also, I think if I think this is maybe, Microsoft did not put out a ton of games in this generation, right? I mean, like if you look at their overall kind of just like first party lineup for the Xbox One, it's like it's not that much.
Especially when
like, man, this is weird.
I was about to say it's probably most of the games they put out are just sequels to IPs from last generation.
Well, there's Scream Ride.
Right. Zoo Tycoon. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Connect.
Loco Cycle. Original IPs.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. It is weird to be kind of talking about this stuff.
Yeah. At the same time, like games are getting out there that you are seeing people go, this runs like shit on a console.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I'm tired of this. I'm going to play the PC version. So.
Yeah, but then it feels like the PC hasn't leapt ahead the way, like normally the way I always perceived it back, again, I guess this is now a couple of generations ago, but it always felt like the PC leapt out ahead of consoles in a very dramatic way.
Right.
And then the consoles kind of caught up. And then it would happen again, and and that was the kind of the staggered kind of leapfrog-ish sort of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like the PC is, obviously like PC hardware is definitely ahead of the consoles, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's, but in some ways it maybe always was, even when these consoles were launching, even if it was super expensive.
Right.
And
that was the narrative about these consoles when they came out, was like, these things are kind of not that powerful.
Yeah.
Right.
Considering what's out on the PC right now.
And then by the time the half steps came out, that was also still kind of the case. And also things got hamstrung by...
Video cards were so expensive then.
Right,
like,
yeah.
It was
like the Bitcoin stuff really fucked up.
God, yeah. Right.
Availability and a lot of stuff. And now we're only now just kind of getting this next generation of video card. Mm-hmm. And I think everyone's looking at them going like, these are really expensive, and it doesn't really feel like it's like the ray tracing stuff doesn't seem like it's
like NVIDIA
happening yet.
NVIDIA is mired in ray tracing and DLSS and all these like experimental things that aren't proven, that aren't necessarily paying off right now.
Or like there aren't enough games out there to where you like feel like I think you can look at it and go like, oh yeah, eventually the computing will get there and this will be the thing.
Yeah. I feel like it's
unless the streaming stuff totally derails the whole graphics card thing to begin with.
Yeah. Like the new version of that Quake 2 thing renderer that NVIDIA put out at GDC, or actually some graphics conference.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I don't know if you guys watched that footage, but that looks really fucking good.
Cool.
I saw there's a path tracing shader out for Minecraft now.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that footage. That looks really good.
Yeah.
So like I think people are starting to get why that stuff matters.
Right.
But it's still gonna take some time.
Yeah, and that path tracing that wasn't like, hey, you need
an
RTX
you don't need an
card.
RTX card.
Hey, you need to sign up to a dude's Patreon.
I think I saw the person who posted the Twitter video saying like, I'm running this on a 1070. Like,
right.
This is fine.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it looks real good.
So I
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a very interesting time out there. There was the Apple subscription stuff and all that. So I think it's, as a result, the options out there are so different right now that I think you're going to see this. I feel increasingly, and just seeing the games on the 4-packs and all that sort of stuff, and knowing what we know about, what E3 is going to likely hold. And as this stuff starts to come together, this year looks pretty light.
Yes, for sure.
And I think it's going to stay that way.
Yes. Like looking at just kind of the master release list for the year, like unless a bunch of stuff gets announced at E3, like it's pretty thin.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the case. I think Sony's probably got a handful of things that they have that are unannounced still.
Yeah, and they
still have like Concrete Genie. There's a bunch of stuff that they have on the books that they haven't put out,
like Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
both like I guess could come out this year.
Right,
like could come out. Well, they're not doing E3, but
do you think Microsoft
at some point they could come out
this year?
Yeah, totally. I was just gonna say Sony could come out of nowhere and be like, "Hey, those games are coming out for holiday." So like those would be big releases.
Right.
There are some things floating out there, but
I think even developers that have to start making calls about where they want to put their games and what they want to do, I think a lot of them are kind of taking a bit of a wait and see approach, because they have to sit back and start to think through like, okay, is this streaming stuff going to work? Is the Google stuff at all enticing? Which I'm trying to think how to word this. I did not talk to a ton of people about this specifically, but I will say of the limited, not scientific, small sample of a few people I talked to about the Google stuff, zero excitement.
You mean developers?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was a lot of just like, and I think, this was some of the stuff you saw on Twitter after the announcement, was, especially from like very small devs of just like, okay, what does this mean for me?
Yeah.
What does this mean for free-to-play games on a streaming service where, how does the money, how does the money work on that stuff? Like I feel like maybe people did not come out of GDC with as many answers on that stuff as maybe they wanted on the like dev end of things or something.
It seemed like I expected all the skepticism to be around the latency, the technical issues, but it seems like there's a lot about the business model.
Right.
And
the ownership.
That's the thing.
Like everyone who has tried the technology is like, this totally works, but there's a bunch of issues around, internet and, and I think you have some people that are skeptical about the rollout of 5G.
Yeah.
And how fast that will actually happen and how many people will actually be able to get it in the near future, in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that stuff too much, but I've read that there are more constraints on like distance from towers and stuff than people think.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough.
So I think that there are a lot of questions around that stuff that then, and there are issues that like Google can't necessarily just kind of pay their way out of.
Right.
That stuff seems like I said, though, everyone that has tried the technology that we've talked to prior to and now, everyone I've talked to since has been like, oh yeah, no, it totally works. You can totally fucking play Doom on like a broadband connection that most people don't have. You can absolutely do it. It works. But it was everything else that I think everyone was kind of.
These are people that had played that Doom demo?
Yeah, people people that have played original Doom, not new Doom.
Oh.
They tested it out with that.
Okay. Not Doom Eternal that they announced at the... Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because that one I'm still skeptical about because, like, think about playing those games with a mouse.
Yeah.
If there is any perceptible lag at all between flicking your wrist and having your view move.
I wonder if...
Michael Heim reported that, he was playing that Doom demo and he felt a lot of latency. Like, he did not have a good time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And he was playing at GDC, right?
Yeah, he was playing.
So I heard they had demos out.
It sounds like they were faking latency there.
Really?
Or I don't know. There was a screenshot going around of like, here's all the latencies, and then the word after the fact was like, actually, that's simulated latency for the show floor.
Here's what it would be like on a regular broadband connection.
So I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of that. Like the demos they showed at GDC. I don't know like about the veracity of that stuff one way or the other. I just don't know enough about it, about what they were running there.
Right. I mean, the biggest advantage they have is there is no barrier to entry to letting people just try it.
Exactly.
They can put some kind of demo out for free, and if you have Chrome, you can try it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
If you like
I didn't think
not.
about that.
At least you don't have to buy into anything to see if it sucks or not.
I keep forgetting that there's zero cost to entry on this.
Yeah.
That's cool.
People seem like I think part of that wait and see is again I didn't go around canvassing the entire show floor, talking to every developer, but I'd say the general vibe is that people
word on the street.
Yeah, people feel like Microsoft has been coming a long way in terms of working with developers, and which they would almost have to be at this point to try to get people excited about what they're doing next. And
I asked a couple developers at that Idea at Xbox thing I went to during GDC, which it was a Microsoft event.
Sure,
of course they're going to be polite and diplomatic
Microsoft
about it.
I feel like I have been to events like that where the indie devs at the thing have not been shy about being like, oh yeah, I'm here at this thing. Also, they're fucking terrible.
Some indie devs will very happily speak their minds in any situation. But generally they seem pretty stoked about because for years the word about Microsoft was like, oh, they're
impossible to work.
There's so much red tape you have to go through.
Weird restrictions, and they want they either want to be first or they need you to bake in a bunch of additional features for their version of the game. Yeah. And it sounds like they've gotten a lot easier to work with.
Yeah, people were pretty enthusiastic about the support they're getting from Microsoft now.
Yeah, and then I think it feels like Sony is kind of. They're just going to kind of do their thing. They don't really have the streaming stuff.
Yeah, we get like a couple emails a week basically saying like, is Sony fucked? Like, they're the only ones not actively talking about a big streaming service for next gen. Like, are they just going to die?
Think about
which seems a little alarmist.
But you also think about like if that stuff doesn't hit, Sony's going to look like fucking geniuses.
Totally.
So it's that's I think what makes the next couple of years so fucking exciting. Is that with where stuff sits and who knows how this stuff pans out. Maybe they're working on stuff behind the scenes that they haven't even started pitching to devs or anybody. They bought Gaikai for all that PlayStation Now stuff, so they have something similar to that. That stuff was not amazing when they rolled it out, but it's something in that space. So I don't know. It seems like Microsoft, if they're truly going to go with this kind of hybridized approach of like, we've got the streaming stuff, but you can still buy a box. that seems like the safest position to be
Yeah.
in right now, because you kind of have it at both ends. You're like, hey, if this stuff takes off, we're ready. If it doesn't, we're ready.
Yeah.
Or
if they both prove to be popular.
Right.
If there proves to be a healthy market for both options, then they're happy to make money off people either way.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a really interesting time. Out there for that stuff, and that's what I came away from. But also, like, that interesting time is happening very much behind the scenes right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
And when that kind of pans out for consumers and all that other stuff, it's generally speaking not necessarily this year.
Yeah.
But Microsoft will have a bunch of stuff to say at E3,
Sure,
if not sooner. Yeah. And I think that I'm very interested to see where we go from here, because it just all sounds so up in the air, man.
What was the rumor about the discless? I mean, the discless Xbox was out before E3, right?
Right. They were saying that was going to be pitched like this month, right?
But I mean, literally like on sale, right? Before we get to E3. So if that's already out of the way,
which is like a weird thing, because like, why? I guess like you got to build the ecosystem, right? It's like, okay, once they're in, especially with a box like that, if you're gonna go hard on streaming, then hey, buy this $99 thing, and you'll be ready to stream what's next and play what's now.
Yeah, if they come in at some amazing price point, they can go up on stage at E3 and be like, hey, we've got a low cost option for you here that you can play all the new stuff with our new streaming tech.
So maybe they start just getting people in that way, and then when the heavy hitters, when they do come back with Halo and they've at this point purchased however many studios they've purchased, like all the rest of that stuff starts to hit. If those games are good, which is seemingly a big if, I guess, these days. Then Microsoft could have figured all this stuff out. You never know.
I guess
they might be turning it around in a real big, definitely, like, perception wise behind the scenes, it seems like people are excited about working with or happier working with them than they have been in the past. So,
and all those studio acquisitions seem well timed now. Like at the time, they were like, "Hey, we bought 8 studios or whatever,"
and we have nothing to announce,
right?
Or,
it's just
or
like,
very
okay,
little
well,
to
you just got all these studios. I guess check back in 3 years,
right,
when they have games. But then now, looking at the release schedule, it's like, they might all have stuff ready right around the time of the new Xbox might come out.
I mean, it really feels like, I think we've been saying this for a while, but it just seems increasingly clear that at some point Microsoft said, "All right, we got the shit beat out of us here. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again." And start shoring up for the next cycle. I've
heard the analogy used from somebody I know at another massive video game company that they basically likened changing course in a big company like that to like steering an aircraft carrier.
Oh yeah.
And it totally seems like this was basically like a 5-year process or something.
That's
by the time
be tough,
from the time Phil Spencer took over to this new Xbox coming out, 6 years.
And just, it seems like fundamental changes just all over Microsoft about what they want to be and do, like that pivot to a services company.
Yes, that seems to be wildly successful so far. So that seems very smart.
Yeah. So
it's kind of cool to see like maybe Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo and Google all kind of trying slightly different approaches. Like,
yeah, if nothing else, that's the thing, is like Nintendo's got their kind of hybrid handheld thing that they're kind of running unopposed. Unless you include phones, I guess, which usually kind of run somewhat different games or run the games differently.
Yes.
You got Sony with, probably a more traditional approach with maybe the promise of some, kind of look back type stuff that, seems interesting. Microsoft with its hybrid stuff, Google with its streaming stuff, and then, like who else? Who else is in the cloud space? Apple with its like subscription service stuff,
kind of.
And then,
well, they've got a bunch of exclusive stuff, so I'm counting them in.
Yeah, and then the only other player in the cloud space that would probably make a run at it is Amazon.
Yeah,
you'd think. So I don't know if they're gonna get into this mess also, but
don't do it. Don't do it.
They've been building Twitch Prime up for a reason, presumably, and doing all that stuff, right? So
to promote other services,
it's not just to add value to Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I heard that. You get like a free a Nintendo Online. For like a year if you've got Twitch Prime.
Yeah. It's wild.
The Twitch Prime,
a full $20 value.
Yes, right.
Is that what it's called? Twitch Prime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was the interesting stuff about PAX. It was good to get out and see everybody and kind of take the temperature of some stuff.
Yeah. Any cool game stuff?
I took a look at Mortal Kombat running on the Switch for a little bit.
Rad. I didn't even know that was happening. Had they announced that?
Yeah.
Okay. I had totally missed that part.
Yeah.
I'm surprised this wasn't like completely behind closed doors.
I mean, they had people near it the whole time. Like, do not point a phone at this. Do not take any footage of this. Do not please don't look directly at it. Like, I watched someone else play it. I didn't like wait through the lines and play it myself. So I kind of stared over someone's shoulder at it. Oh, also it was not even hooked up to TVs. It was just handheld.
Okay.
Like, here it is.
Good frame rate.
Yeah, that was the thing that stood out. Was like, oh, the frame rate's fine.
Cool.
Like,
60?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was...
How much blood?
So the guy playing was not busting out the good shit. So I didn't see any fatal blows. It seems like that sort of stuff would be the part where you might see some more noticeable reductions in terms of just like how that stuff ends up looking. But generally speaking, in terms of just like the fighting itself, it looked right there with the other versions. Like, some visual scale down for sure.
Cool. That's really exciting.
But in terms of playing that video game, it seems like you can play that video game on
There's
the
been
Switch.
so many good fighting games coming to the Switch, and because it's such a good like portable system, it's great for like the fighting game community as a whole. I think that's. I don't think it's ever going to be like the primary console, but just to have that stuff like in clutch moments.
Is there
much bust out? It's great.
Is there much of a stick scene for the Switch?
They've got one official one, but the Brook Universal Fighting Boards, that are predominantly used in custom sticks. Though that works with Switch and like every other console as well. Cool. Wii U, fucking Xbox One, all across the board.
That's cool.
Yeah, and. There's a bunch of controller converters as well, and a bunch of just
like a lot of that 8-bit DO stuff works.
That stuff works.
So you can kind of get like I bought that M30, that Genesis looking 6-button controller they put out, and that thing that would be a decent fighting game controller for the Switch for sure.
That's what I bought it for.
Yeah,
totally.
Y'all got any games of the moment?
Still banging my head against Sekiro, I guess. Yeah. Not making much progress. I beat Lady Butterfly. Okay. I guess. I was just swearing the entire time.
I hear that one's rough.
Yeah, that one's it's kind of no fun. Most of it's no fun.
You're not. I was about to ask if you were actually enjoying it.
I'm still. If I would get better rewards, I think. If they gave me a little more incentive.
Success is its own reward.
Because everything changes up from fight to fight. I don't feel like I'm really learning much. I'm memorizing patterns. And that's, I guess, in its own way, its own reward. I guess that you overcame that particular challenge, but. In terms of the overall game enjoyment, it's not doing it for me. Just from a fun level, like I don't know, like I'm getting my parries down. I'm playing it pretty well, It's just that I'm dying an awful lot, trying to memorize those patterns and stuff, and that's where it's no fun, I guess, for me. So
it seems weirdly polarizing in the kind of, I guess, from community or whatever you want to call it, just. From looking at message boards, like some people who love those games have kind of bounced off of it.
I kind of felt the same way about Bloodborne in that it didn't give me enough, and that's why I kind of like dropped off at the very end.
Vinny was saying the same thing yesterday, that like Bloodborne and like maybe this game to some extent make you be more aggressive, like you have to go in more, whereas Dark Souls you can play a build basically. I guess that's the thing, is that Bloodborne and Sekiro don't have as extensive of a kind of build variety as Dark Souls, because Dark Souls you can make as tanky and like defensive a character as you want, just kind of hang back and cheese.
I keep thinking about like all the different variety of weapons in like Neo or something like that. That's the first game that I go to instead of like other From games when I'm playing this, and I keep going, man, I wish I had this kind of weapon here. I don't know. Maybe I'm still playing it. Like maybe I'll come around on it. Maybe at some point it'll just click. I hear that happens to some people. So fingers crossed that'll happen as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jan, what have you been up to?
I've been speaking about fighting games on the Switch.
Really?
Ben and I.
No.
Okay, so Ben and I last week we did a quick look of Power Rangers Battle for the Grid.
Yeah.
Specifically the Switch version, and I remember for months
that's
now.
Like the only version that's out there, I think.
It came PS4 and Xbox.
Or I think it maybe came out on Xbox, but not PS4. I saw there was something weird about
it.
Yeah,
I thought they were delayed. But
and like
anyway.
Steam is coming out in the summer for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
it didn't come out on PC yet.
I just remember Ben for months harping. It's like, has a code come in? Have we heard anything about
Right.
Power Rangers? Because he was super excited about it. So it's a 3v3 tag fighting game, and
Wow.
I'm not a qualified scientist or anything, but
Neither is Ben. It's fine.
junior intern.
yeah.
And I've actually been enjoying it, but the part that's kind of getting to me is that if it's a tag fighting game, normally that's like a big roster of characters.
Yeah.
But here there's only about 8 or 9, seven or 9, with plans to include 3 more.
Okay.
It doesn't feel too bad. It's at $20, and I don't want to say it's a budget title, but there's
You could say.
Okay, it's a budget title because there's like a distinct lack of voices and like little touches. Like you won't see your character's name on the life bar, just like your screen name or just the generic player one or AI.
Or like win poses or win screens.
There's no win
things
screens.
like-
There's no win quotes.
Yeah.
There's like an arcade mode that runs you through like 7 missions, but there's nothing after
is this a port
that.
of a mobile game, or is it like from the developers of a Power Rangers mobile game,
I
or
think
something
it
like that?
was.
Is
I think it's the developers behind the WWE and Power Rangers mobile game.
The developer is called Inway, which I feel like I've heard the name of before.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else have they made?
I don't think it's a direct port of that mobile Power Rangers fighting game, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Jen, I'd overheard you mention at some point that like you wish that they had some like voice samples from like a show or
totally.
something.
Because I
And
thought
really-
like maybe it's a rights issue, but I guess it could just be because it's $20. Maybe they didn't have the budget to do so.
Okay.
But like Power Rangers,
But if
super
they have the
cheesy.
license,
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, also, if you're going to play a Power Rangers game, aren't you there for a bunch of fan service?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the fan service, like they do a bunch of deep cuts with like the 9 characters they decided to choose because they have Lord Draken, which is like evil Tommy from the future.
Oh wow. Okay.
If he continued to stay bad instead of joining the Power Rangers. And then they have the Ranger Slayer, who's the
Weird.
pink Power Ranger, but she got brainwashed. But they also have the Mastodon Black Power Ranger, who's a cop.
Wait,
And I can't get down with that.
I'm sorry to digress here.
no
but
cops on your Power Rangers.
No.
Jen.
All the Power Rangers are cops.
Well, but this one's like specifically, it's like he pulls out a walkie-talkie.
Oh,
he has
wow.
no personality. He's not cool and fun-loving like Zach.
I'm sorry to digress here, but I went
Officer
to
Zach.
I just went to the Inway Twitter account, and there's a big image of Power Rangers versus Street Fighter.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
in
there
the
was-
mobile game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird. Power Rangers Legacy Wars. I don't know.
Yeah, I played a bit, and it's serviceable.
It feels
you know, it's
fine. Yeah, it's
Oh, it actually plays okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
As a $20 thing.
Yeah, it's a $20
Yeah.
thing.
It looks like it is out on Xbox and Switch right now. but
Special
not-
moves
but
are
not-
like
but not
directional,
PC
like you
or
hold a
PS4.
direction and you hit the special move button, you know, you hold back and you get something different forward. and
Taking
neutral.
something from the Smash Brothers.
Yeah, a little bit. It's all right.
Yeah, I tried a couple matches online, didn't get completely wrecked, and the connection was
Cool.
fine.
Cool.
Yeah, that's mostly it's as a Power Rangers fan, it's a little bit of a bummer to only have 9 characters.
I could see that.
especially when there's so many.
Like you could clone the fuck out of.
Oh yeah, like I mean,
you
like
really
fucking
pad this roster.
Smash has like 12 different versions of one character.
Right.
They could do the same thing here.
Why not?
Those
Yeah.
suits, I bet those suits palette swap really easy.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Just
totally.
make more Rangers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bummer, but I mean it's cool. They said they're gonna continue working on it.
Yeah, they've got like a season pass associated.
Yeah,
that
a $15 season pass.
A $15 season pass to get you. Like,
I'm sorry, did you
3 more
say a
characters.
50?
15.
No,
15.
no,
Okay.
no. 15.
Even the 15 is expensive for a $20 game, I guess.
But like at least I'd say for like the limited roster they do have, they all played very differently from each other.
Mhm.
I mean, again, my knowledge of fighting games is not too deep, but it was
No,
fun
I
for
concur.
what I was getting into.
As a scientist, I concur.
Okay, all right. Just a lot. Oh, okay. So the dumb thing though is that the other thing I associate with Power Rangers are the Megazords. And they have you pick a Megazord after you pick your roster of 3 characters, and I thought like, okay, cool. That'll be like a summon or something, or
Right.
you hop into it afterwards and the fight continues that way. No, because as soon as you build up your meter and your Zord's meter, you summon it, but it doesn't actually do anything until you start hitting attack buttons. So a giant foot or sword will start stabbing into the screen.
It's kind of rad.
And like a drill. It's cool because it'll continue combos and you can actually block it. But it just, man.
It's not like Jin Super and MVC.
I just
When
wish
he calls
I
out
saw
Buddy
them.
the
Yeah.
big fist that comes in.
No.
In this case, the Bigfoot. It's all right. It's pretty cool.
I see if that foot just if you grew large and then the foot just stepped on someone and crushed them into a pile of rib cages, that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Power Rangers in Mortal Kombat. Do it. I want to rip out Tommy's spine.
Oh, gee. Why? I love Tommy.
Well, like when he was an evil shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was kind of an evil shit for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No Blue Ranger representation here.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that's weird.
How could they?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Or how could they not?
I don't know enough about where Power Rangers went after the first year
Oh,
or so
man.
to be
Rita
able to
Repulsa.
even-
That's the extent
that
of
was
my
that
Power
was actually
Rangers
my
knowledge.
question. Is Rita Repulsa in it or what?
She is not.
That's
course
about
not.
all I know.
Yo, you want to look up some weird
Not even Lord
Power Ranger
Zed.
stuff? Google Doggie Kruger,
Doggie Kruger?
and it's like a giant anthropomorphic dog that's like the Zordon of SPD. Yeah.
Dog, you can do spinning paw drivers?
What?
It gets weird. Power Rangers gets very weird.
I have Googled Doggie Kruger.
It's a good name.
Sure.
But then
Sure.
he also becomes a Power Ranger, but he's like a giant
But
dog
he's a
man.
dog.
And but
It worked for Contra.
yeah, but he just assumes like a normal size helmet, which weirds me out. I would have liked a dog Power Ranger helmet, but
Why'd
whatever.
they fit his snout in there? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Is it because in wherever they whatever Japanese show they stole the footage from, it was not a dog?
Right.
I believe so.
Man, what a mess! What a glorious mess!
Jan,
love it all.
I appreciate you being here to get excited about the stuff that we probably just barely aged out of by the time it came around, and
what I'm here
also
for.
to let me know how I sound when I babble about Transformers.
Nonsense. I think they're one and the same.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think Ben and I were talking about this where like Transformers was probably like the generation that preceded him and I.
Yeah, totally.
Where like I kinda,
That's the thing. Everybody's got their thing
Totally.
that they grew up with.
Except
right?
Transformers was good. That's the difference.
Man, Power Rangers taught me about accepting friends.
That is the attitude
redemption.
that is the attitude that I am identifying in myself and trying to step out of.
No, man, don't. Just double down on that.
Internally, I know the truth.
Did the Transformers have a crossover episode with the Ninja Turtles?
No, but there was a comic book series with G.I. Joe.
That's right.
Okay, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, G.I. Joe had a guy with a metal face. How did he talk? How did he breathe?
It's a-
How did the
whole-
mouth move?
How did he smile?
He had a
all the
metal
time?
mask, and
Yeah.
yet his mouth just. I don't know.
There's a lot we don't know about
Destro.
Destro.
Yeah,
He's an arms dealer. That's
that's
all
true.
you need to know.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is shadowy.
Have the Transformers and Power Rangers never crossed over? Is that just
That
like
seems
they
like
had
something
to
that
have.
have
Right?
Like probably there was something at some
Yeah.
point.
I mean,
was
I've
it?
I've
That's-
seen Batman and Ninja Turtles get across
yeah.
paths.
Who was it? Was it on a stream here last week that I was trying to explain the G.I. Joe movie to somebody
I think it was probably
Yeah.
to Ben.
and how they go to a secret like Arctic society of reptile people who want to mutate the world,
Right.
run by a giant snake man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Checks out.
Voiced by Burgess Meredith.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a weird ass movie.
It really fucking
It's
is,
really
man.
weird.
Cobra Commander. Just the fate of Cobra Commander was
he was
something
once a
else. Yeah, was once. Same.
Jeff, you got any games?
I played some Risk of Rain 2.
Oh yeah, that kind of
Well, yeah, I played a little bit.
out of nowhere, or at least to me, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't
I guess
expecting
it
it.
kind of showed up on Steam, and then I think Gearbox announced it at their panel.
Oh, are they publishing it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or at least
Oh,
they're
so
publishing it on Steam.
Did the whole
Yeah.
did the whole like announcement to release happen last week?
No, the game had been announced
Okay.
previously.
Okay. I must have-
Because I feel like there had been footage out there. So I think this was one that like came along. I forgot what they were doing with it, and
Yeah.
then it came out, and I was like, oh right, they are making Risk of Rain, but as a behind the back, third person polygonal game.
Yeah, we played some of it on the long UPF on Friday.
Yeah.
and Ben also seemed kind of thrown for a loop. That
Yeah,
it's like because it's kind of the same style
Kind
of
of the
game,
same-
just
yeah.
in 3D, right?
yeah, it's a weird thing, for sure.
People seem to like it.
Yeah, it seems like I only played like a couple of runs, and I'm really on the fence about it because I don't think the character moves all that well, and like you think about like what a third person action shooter game can be, especially if you have a dodge roll and stuff like that. Like it feels very stiff in the way that the original Risk of Rain did. To so.
To its credit.
So
sure.
to its credit, like it evokes that first game pretty well.
Maybe that works better in 2D than 3D.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm on the fence on. Like that my initial reaction was like, I think I might like Risk of Rain 1 more. But I think what they're doing is at least neat.
That's cool.
It feels like a weird throwback.
It's early access, so they're
hey, flashback 2D game, fade to black, not.
Oh,
like it's got that kind of.
Man, if you're comparing it to Fade Black.
Hey, yeah, right.
Oh,
no, it's maybe not that bad. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not super sold on it. It's a really neat thing on paper of like, hey, can we take these concepts and make them in a polygonal game? But it's just not. I don't know. It's early access.
Kind of makes me want to play the first one because I never did. And watching 2, I now know at least what kind of game it is. And I'm like, oh, in 2D, that's pretty cool.
It's that first game's tremendous. It's great. It's
great. I assume it's out on probably everything at this point.
Yeah, probably.
I might have to check that out at some point. I've been playing some of the Elder Scrolls Blades on my telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
You just like dial a number and it says like push 1 if you want to stab them, push 9 to be removed from our list.
Pretty much.
Okay.
It's weird because it's early access. Like they dropped on the App Store and the Google Play Store.
I didn't know they had
out of
a
nowhere
program for early access on mobile.
They don't
stuff.
because if you just pull it up on one of those stores, it just says the Elder Scrolls Blades download now.
Huh. Okay.
But then you download it and boot it, and then they're like, log in with your Bethesda account, and you do that, and they're like, we're letting people into this slowly. Go to Bethesda.net to sign up, and maybe you'll get picked. Yeah,
okay.
like they're just like opting people in randomly off of a sign up list.
It's a weird way to do it.
Yeah,
but
kind of. I mean, they're calling it early access, but I got into it, and it's kind of cool, which I feel like a real dupe for saying because I know exactly where this thing is going.
Sure,
there are.
What are the free to play trappings?
All kinds of venues for meters and timers and
I don't like hearing that
materials to dump into those things to speed them up. Yeah.
Well, like other than that, like you're just kind of go around questing. Like,
well, so it's there's not a real traditional open world. Like there's the conceit is there's a town you come upon that is ruined, it's destroyed, everybody's fled, like the buildings are all trashed. And you go out from that, you pick up quests in that town, and then you go out from the town to do the quests. But there's no overworld you travel to get to the quests. You literally just warp from the town square to the beginning of a dungeon and do it. And then you get gold and lumber and like 100 different crafting materials.
I love lumber.
Come back. So you pick up chests in the missions, and those have timers. Although the first types of chests I found are wooden chests that have 5-second timers. As if to say, hey, our timers are friendly. But I know from reading about the game that hours-long timers will start appearing pretty quickly. Then you get back to town with the stuff you've found, and rebuilding the buildings in town also has timers on it. It's that.
Yeah,
but
it sounds like one of those.
It looks nice and it plays kind of well. Like I played it on the bus on the way in, and it was like kind of fun.
What's combat like?
It is. So you get locked into combat. Like as soon as an enemy sort of like triggers, you just sort of like your view snaps to the enemy and you can't move.
Okay.
And it's pretty simple so far. It's you got a shield fake button on the left so you can block their attacks, and then you can attack anytime by holding on them, and like a circle starts closing on them, and you let off like right when the circle closes, and you kind of get full damage.
Okay.
I've seen a little bit of interesting stuff. Like there's one type of enemy is too far away from you to hit, so you have to time your attacks for when they lunge at you to actually connect.
Oh, neat.
So there is some variation there, and you get abilities and spells. There's a skill tree you can pick.
Neat.
What to unlock.
As long as it's engaging and fun.
Plays okay.
Yeah,
like
that's cool.
Did it seem like the sort of thing where they're just going to randomly generate quests forever, or did you feel like there's a story linking this together?
There is kind of a story, actually. It's like a weird personality in some of the writing, because like one of the few townspeople that has shown up since I started rebuilding was like a complete dick to me. Like there's like people seem skeptical of you. I don't know. There is some amount of storytelling. It's pretty thin. There's a couple options on the screen, on the title screen. One of them is Abyss, which I think I saw a tool. It's locked right now. Like they haven't added it to the game yet, but one of the tooltips said something about like you get crafting materials by completing quests or exploring the Abyss. So I think the Abyss might be some kind of endless or randomly generated thing. I don't know. It's okay. It's pretty thin. Like you can certainly see the mobile machinery of it, but it looks nice.
It's making your phone super hot.
It was warm.
Okay.
Sort of warm.
Nice.
Okay.
That's how we judge.
Yeah. Also, I've got like 80 megabytes of data left for the next 2 days before Verizon charges me $15. So I'm trying to play that game without going over that limit.
Oh no, I didn't know you had a cap.
So I
don't know how.
I should probably get a better plan.
Yeah.
I've never hit my cap before.
No,
until now. Anyway, that thing seems cool. I need to check an embargo before I say one other thing. Somebody say something.
I have not played it yet, but I am going to get started on Dangerous Driving. Pretty soon.
Yeah.
Which was at the show floor, and so some people have been playing it a little bit. Kind of heard some mixed things about it. It's it's like a Burnout 2-ish sort of.
You have my attention.
Driving game from from Three Fields, who did the other games where they said, hey, it's like the Burnout Crash mode, that ended up being just kind of undercooked, underproduced.
I remember that having like the UI kind of being a little bit of a letdown because it was fairly basic.
Yeah, just the whole look of it and
the presentation,
overall overall, and just maybe not enough variety. I think were the things with what was that called? It wasn't Dangerous Driving, the crash mode stuff.
Danger Zone?
Danger Zone, right.
That's right.
Yeah, so this is, kind of the pre-open world Burnout style.
Looks kind of nice.
Yeah. Some parts of it looked all right. So I'm looking forward to getting going on it, but I've heard some complaints around like, the collision angles for you and the other cars seem like hard to judge or wrong.
That might be a deal breaker in that kind of game.
Yeah. But I would have said the same thing early on about Onrush, and eventually once I warmed up to it, I kind of got past that aspect of it. So we'll see. I'm going to probably start on that tonight, and we'll give it a look this week probably.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear how that is. Like, I feel like I keep waiting for that studio to do the thing, and they haven't done the thing yet.
Yeah.
Like every game they put out sounds
and I feel
awesome.
Like we've been vocal about like what they need to do.
Yeah.
What they need to kind of polish up.
Yeah. Like their ideas are fine.
Right.
It's just,
I imagine
like the
it's
execution is just lacking.
It's probably just a resource issue.
Maybe.
Right? I mean, it's it seems like a really small team. It
Yeah.
seems like it would be hard to put that stuff together, but at the same time, like they keep and they're on this track of like they announce a game and then almost immediately release it.
The games come out fast.
Like like they have way more projects under their belt shipped than I would have expected by now.
This is like their fourth game.
Yeah,
in the last 3 years. Oh, they also made some VR.
Yeah, there's the VR shooting gallery thing too.
Fifth game.
And so they're really punching things out. Yeah. And none of them, like every single one of them, I feel like I've come away going like, this probably could have used some more time.
Yeah.
So you wonder like, do they just gotta get some money coming in? Like is it a financial thing? Like I just don't know. So this seems like the culmination of like now they're getting close to the things that people really want them to be doing, and I'm curious to see if this is a step up from the stuff they've done so far or not.
Yeah. So my last thing, directly after the show last week, I ran out of here to a PlayStation VR event. I didn't have a ton of time to spend there because I had to get home and play Generation Zero with Alex, which it turns out I probably would have been better off staying at the event.
Yeah,
because that game's not good. But anyway, I didn't play anything there, but I kind of made the rounds watching people play stuff to see what was there. They had No Man's Sky VR,
cool,
which they were demoing with PlayStation Moves, and the thing so I'm sure it has controller support too. I didn't actually think to ask, but the thing that stuck out to me that I kind of got excited about watching that was you get in your ship. And if you have motion controllers, you can manually control all the stuff in the cockpit.
Okay.
Like you get in there, and I'm pretty sure you hit a hatch button to make the hatch close, and then you pull a throttle. Like, a big part of the fantasy of that game is having your own spaceship that you can just get in and fly anywhere.
Yeah,
like that actually. Typically, I would want to just use a controller for a game like that, but like watching that, I was like, if I can get in there and like play with a bunch of control panels and stuff, I might want to pull out some motion controllers.
A lot of the inventory management and just a lot of like the stuff in that game of like menus and going in to refill your fuel with whatever resource and this and that, like all that stuff, like they streamlined it a lot over the 9 or 10 years that game's been out, but it always still felt like a little clunk. So like doing it with motion controllers would probably force them to redesign a lot of that stuff in a way that could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I should have had them run through some of the UI stuff while I was there. Like I said, I was kind of quickly checking stuff out there, but
they seem committed to it.
Yeah,
like it's going to be like fully playable.
Oh yeah,
in VR,
yes, yeah. They said it's exactly the same game. Like you can literally load up your previous save game from the regular game in VR instead if you want.
So yeah, like
like
Jeff
I did,
said, I wonder what kind of concessions and like changes that they're going to make.
Like I did see some of the building interface because I actually haven't ever really messed with their base building stuff, which they added a ton of. But yeah, you can do all that with motion and stuff. So it seems cool.
That could be an improvement.
Yeah.
The base building stuff actually is fine with the controller.
Yeah.
But
it seemed interesting because like they're doing their bigger multiplayer thing, which they haven't talked in too much in detail about. They're doing this, and then they say there's one other component to this big summer update that they haven't revealed yet that they're kind of talking some game about. So like that, I don't know. That could
full nudity.
Yeah, now we're talking alien nudity.
And once you get the VR game, that's the natural next step.
That seems to be
No Man's Sky morph balls.
Ooh, okay. They look good.
The planets
also
morph into stuff. I don't know.
Like I was worried, it's on PS4. Like you're gonna have to make some compromises to make this thing run smoothly in VR. But like it looked like No Man's Sky from what I could see, which is a compliment.
And then that stuff's also coming to Steam.
Yeah, it's also coming to Steam.
The VR
stuff
you
can just like brute force it with a good video card if you really want to make it look good.
Sure.
That stuff seems exciting though. Like I feel like I never really closed the loop on that game.
Yep.
Like I never quite got everything I was looking for out of it, and every time they announce more stuff, I'm like, this is getting closer to
I mean,
kind of what they pitched.
I went back, when they had their kind of last big update and got into it and put another 20 or 30 hours into it, and built a base and did all the stuff that like I hadn't done because they patched it in when I wasn't playing it. Yeah. And had a pretty good time with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I really want to check that stuff out.
I wonder how well that game is like continuing to sell because the story was always like it did gangbusters out of the gate, and that's what's affording them the ability to to make good on some of the stuff that it didn't have at launch.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of into the and then some phase of it, I think.
Right, because it's I think it came out in 2016, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they're coming up on 3 years that it's been out.
So I wonder if it's like selling well enough to like if they're just kind of like riding on the initial wave of sales they got, or if like every incremental update is enough to like, oh, now more people are finally getting in.
Yeah.
That this is like still going on and selling and doing well.
Yeah, I don't know. I see a lot of talk about like the No Man's Sky community, so people seem to be sticking with it. But I don't know. That's a good question. But that looked cool.
Cool.
I'm excited to see that thing come out for real.
A lot of the hands-on reports for Iron Man VR that hit today seem pretty positive on it.
Yeah, I watched some people playing that. I mean, like it seems to control or move kind of like you expect. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at it, but it is, it is a first-person flight game,
right?
But it is go anywhere from what I could tell. It's
cool.
It's not like a rail shooter.
Yeah, I think the rap I heard on it was that the stuff they showed in their video looked okay, but the actual game is notably better than what they showed. It was just like, okay, this stuff does not actually show what this game is really good at.
I should have stuck around and checked out more of that. That's cool. Yeah, it did sound pretty thin from the way they were pitching it.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the games I got. If you guys got anything else,
all I got
besides the full bladder.
Not me, man.
All right, it's time for a break then.
Dry as a bone.
Yep. We'll be right back.
It's time to get it on the internet. That's right. It's time to turn your dreams into a reality with Squarespace. Because Squarespace makes it easier than ever to launch your passion project. Are you looking to start a new business? Yeah, you are. Everyone is. Of course you are. You trying to showcase your work? Yeah. Publish some content, sell some products. Squarespace is the tool for you no matter what you need to do. Just get it on the internet with these beautiful templates created by world-class designers. You can customize any of it with just a few clicks, and you can easily make a beautiful website all by yourself. You can also sell stuff. They've got e-commerce functionality. It's powerful. It'll let you sell anything online. There's analytics in there that'll help you grow your site in real time. And it's all optimized for mobile, right out of the box. Nothing to patch, nothing to upgrade. It just works. They've even made buying domains simple. And you'll get the help you need from Squarespace's 24/7 award-winning customer support. Did you know that Squarespace empowers millions of people? Millions. It's a lot of websites. But there's still room for yours. Are you a designer, a lawyer, artist, restaurant, gym, whatever? All of those sorts of people are turning great ideas into something real, and now you can too. Head over to squarespace.com/bombcast for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code BOMBCAST to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/bombcast, offer code BOMBCAST.
News. I got a bunch of it. Borderlands 3.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
There's some. I just gave you some.
Give me the news.
I just gave you
All
some.
of the news.
No.
Oh, okay.
One at a time.
You can't handle all
Yeah.
of this news at one time. Borderlands 3.
Boom.
They announced it.
Boom.
We can finally answer the question, is Borderlands 3 the new Half-Life 3? By saying no.
No.
It is not.
God.
There.
Yeah.
We did that.
Though they sure didn't spend a lot of time actually answering any question. It was like they might as well, like the trailer is fine.
Did you go to that panel?
Yeah.
No, we were in the car.
Oh.
We
was
were-
that Thursday? Oh, that
Yeah,
was
it
Thursday morning.
We
That's
were,
right.
So we were driving from New York
Okay.
to Boston.
Okay.
Me, Alex, and Abby.
How much of the panel were you able to follow in the car?
Every time I turned it on, it was just Randy Pitchford doing magic. And
Man.
and then I would turn it off for a while and then turn it back on, and he would still be. It was just kind of like sweatily doing magic, and I was like, "Did something break?" And it turns out, no, it's everything broke later.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
So then it got to the. Then I turned it on as they were actually getting into the trailer, and then it started playing, and I was like, "Well, my connection must be shitty because we're in a car." And then
No, it wasn't yet.
And then I looked, saw like, oh no, apparently they just didn't play the trailer.
They'd been
properly.
having this problem as they'd been playing previous trailers because they announced like what was it? Bulletstorm for Switch, something else.
Yeah.
Borderlands
some-
remaster, I think.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
remaster.
right,
Borderlands
That's
1
when it
remaster,
seemed
which
like
is
it
out,
first
like,
started.
tomorrow.
There's like a 4K texture or like
Yeah.
up kind of quality pack coming out for handsome. You know, they've
The
been running.
videos, yeah,
They've been running other videos in the panel prior to Borderlands 3, and all
and
of them have
we're
been
getting
having this
progressively worse and worse
terrible
and
like
worse.
frame rate and stuttering problems. And then they got to the big finale, started playing the Borderlands 3 trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing was happening. They killed it. He came out and like tried to fill.
Yeah.
They
But he'd
ran
done
it
all his
again.
magic. He
Yeah.
had no magic left. No MP.
They apparently couldn't resolve the problem and then just elected to run the entire reveal trailer with the problem.
And then rerun the
And then like
trailer.
5 or 10 minutes later, they got it fixed. And they're like, here's the trailer again. Now it's smooth.
That trailer looked like an Adult Swim bumper.
Kind
Like it was just like here's an occasional word on screen,
Yeah.
and it's just like back to not the exact same style as the Adult Swim stuff, of
Yeah.
course, but it was
kind of
just,
like weird dialogue with the viewer kind of thing.
yeah,
Like
but like
you
no
want enemies, we got them.
but like no dialogue from the characters,
Yeah.
so like no real story setup, or you could frame by frame it and glean little bits of information about
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
like they said, like for a game that has been obviously in development for quite some time now and not much of a secret, and they've acknowledged multiple times that they were in fact working on it, for this to be like their quote unquote announcement to be like so info light just seems dumb.
Borderlands 2 came out September 2012.
Yeah.
So well over 6 years ago.
Well, they had to make that hobby grade shooter
Obviously,
in the middle there.
Yes, I wonder if Borderlands 3 is hobby grade. But yeah, like I know it sounds reductive, but watching that trailer, like if you were to ask me like what makes this different from Borderlands 1 and 2,
Right.
I wouldn't be able to come up with much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's plenty,
Yeah. No,
but it looked an awful lot like a Borderlands game.
Sure. Yeah. It did, yeah. I was able to discern quite a bit, I think, in that difference.
You see like some returning characters here
some
and
returning,
there,
yeah.
or
But like,
Well,
the character
I guess-
classes seem very different.
Well,
and-
so I guess the distinction I would make is like, yes, they have different classes,
Yeah.
and like people who love Borderlands 2 and want more of that, if they just see new classes, like
Yeah.
that's cool. But if you're hoping for them to make a bigger change,
I don't.
I didn't see much there.
Yeah, that's it's one of the few like genres, I guess, that I don't want to be changed too terribly much.
Well, like,
You know,
for example, I would say like if they're sticking, it appears to be the case, if they're sticking with this concept of like your classes being married to a specific character design, like that feels very outmoded to me.
I didn't want that in Borderlands 2.
Right. Yes. Like
and
think about every other loot shooter that's come out since then, and like the extensiveness of character creation and customization. Like if you're,
wanting to customize, yeah.
I'm looking at. I might as well mention there was a leak of 2 or 3 days before this reveal with some kind of low res promotional art and a ton of details. So
and then the promo art kind of lined
the
up with some
promo
of the
art
stuff in the
basically
trailer,
matches the
so-
trailer, so I think we can assume this leak is more or less legit. But it is leaked info, so it can't necessarily be trusted all
Right.
the way.
What you got?
But it does talk about, I mean, it is that exact same model. It's 4 character classes. Each one is tied to a specific character.
Yep.
Like, you know, they have a stealth character. They have a melee character. Like, that's fine. I don't mind character classes so much, but like, I just, Destinies and Divisions and Anthems, and like everybody likes making their own character and customizing it, kind of making it theirs, and like to be tied to.
I think that was my feeling with Borderlands 2 was this vibe of like, wow, either I'm wrong, like, did people care about the characters in that? Like, because all of the Borderlands 1 characters became NPCs in 2, and you talked to them a bunch, and it was like, this is not. Like, I would rather still be that character because I thought his skill tree was more interesting than any one of the ones in Borderlands 2. Like, but instead, like, they've doubled down on making these people characters, and it was like, I don't want that at all.
Yeah,
I'd rather just create a character and a class instead of like, they had like, oh, well, here's like unlockable skins that are just like full color redos.
Yeah,
that just seemed
you couldn't even mix and match colors.
Yeah, that kind of seemed behind the times then. And so I just wonder, like, what more are they?
Yeah,
it sounds like from that leaked stuff that maybe gun customization is.
Yeah, the leak mentions there are like gun parts you can.
Which that's interesting because that's weirdly how that system works behind the scenes. When you got into like the Borderlands save editors and stuff, it was like, oh, I'm gonna select a different barrel from this drop down. It's gonna change this, and so like their random gun generator was kind of based on parts to begin with. So why not build a crafting system?
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good that that's in there.
That sounds cool.
Or assuming the leak is legit.
Yeah, and then I guess the biggest new thing, which is kind of implied in the trailer and then just stated flat out in this leak, is that you're going to multiple planets this time. So not stuck in one area.
That future one looks pretty cool.
Like the leak says, you'll have like a kind of a mothership that you use as your hub to go from planet to planet. And there's like one quick montage of environments in the middle of that trailer that kind of caught my attention because there's like a high-tech city environment, which is something you haven't seen before. And there's like kind of a nice lush jungle. Like Borderlands has been kind of a lot of desert, right? And snowy desert.
Sure.
Basically. Yeah. So like seeing some new types of environments was kind of exciting.
Going off world.
Like going to different planets maybe sounds cool. But
that's
like
kind of what they did in the prequel, the pre-sequel, what the hell did they call it? Oh,
the pre-sequel,
Wasn't that just on one other planet though?
It was a moon, right?
Moon.
So there was this whole oxygen mechanic that was
low gravity.
Not fun.
Yeah. But I mean this idea of being able to go from one planet to another at will.
Yeah, I think
sounds kind of interesting. But I guess in general, what I mean is just like, I was hoping for a Borderlands 3 that really looked like they had looked at the kind of every other loot shooter that's come out. Because like is it fair to say they invented the genre, or at least this mashup?
Hellgate London.
Well, okay, sure. Okay, they weren't the very first.
No.
But in this modern era.
Yeah, I think like Borderlands did kind of lay down something of a blueprint for other games to follow, but like other games I think ran with it a lot.
Totally, that's
better.
What I mean. Like I was hoping we would see them having like really looked at every other game that's come out since Borderlands 2 and like kind of taken some of those ideas and come up with some big ideas of their own.
Like the scope of the game just seems like a larger Borderlands as opposed to like, hey, there's maybe some more fundamental things you could do around online connectivity and social spaces and like some of that other stuff that like, maybe they just haven't gotten around to revealing.
Yeah. Actually, the end of the trailer...
But if this ends up just being like, here's a 4-player Borderlands game as they've always made them, like, what? Yeah. Like, that seems crazy.
Yeah, like at a minimum, I would want like an online social space with people running around like kind of like Destiny or
But then you
Division.
get in, then you're just kind of like really exposing the issue of, hey, you've got these
every character
prefab characters, right? Like that
Sure.
was the thing, like even going from Borderlands 1 to 2, like to me the most no-brainer thing felt like armor to customize the look of your character.
Yeah.
And so when you look at another character, you go, oh, they're badass. They got all this stuff. But instead they just went with the shields that, just pop, that they don't really change the look of the character ever. And so that just felt like a real missed opportunity, and this just feels like more of that in a way of just like, man, what if
this game also doesn't have that?
Yeah,
like holy shit,
right?
Like the idea of a loot shooter without armor in this.
I don't think it will. I don't think they're going to get away from that.
I wonder. I bet they don't. But that to me, that's really
it's just core. It's core to the genre for me.
I think I don't know. I think having those those prefab like kind of written characters carries a little more weight for me. You mentioned that the first game's characters carried on into like the next game. These characters matter. They're not yours, I guess you just play as them.
Yeah.
I like playing as a class,
Yeah.
I don't need it to be completely customized. I don't need to make my own skill tree or anything like that. I think
it's mostly just like I don't identify with the player characters in Borderlands enough for it to be worth it for them to make it just this prefab thing.
I'm excited
that has
for
a name
this.
and
I'm
all
excited
that
for
other
these
stuff.
new classes. Like this Beastmaster class seems fucking rad. You know, and the soldier class. All the vehicles that you can like summon, you know, that tire, that like unicycle tire,
Right.
you can summon that. You can summon the big mech thing that, you know, another player can ride on top of.
Yeah, like I thought the guns.
I think the class stuff, definitely.
Yeah, totally.
I
I don't
just
have any
want to
problem with
customize
that.
the look
Yes,
of
yes,
like,
it's-
I want to play that soldier also,
Okay.
but I don't want my soldier to look exactly like yours.
Yeah, like I want to get cool shoulder pads for my soldier.
I think when like Borderlands 2, like they had a ton of different skins, you know.
Yeah, they did, but it
were available
wasn't
with, you know, spiked shoulder pads and shit like that.
But then
you couldn't customize each individual part.
yeah,
I'll give you that.
You think about the things you could do in those games, and like the things you could, you know, the things other games do with loot and stuff like that. You know, back to World of Warcraft, even, you know, but like. You should be able to look at someone and go, "Oh man, they fucking beat Cromarax."
Yes.
Right.
Because they're wearing the helmet.
Yeah.
You know, like because he's wearing the boots that he got from skinning this fucking monster. And
It's really
like-
it's the Monster Hunter thing more than anything. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like you want to see that character wearing a record of their exploits.
They got billions of guns. You guys want billions of shoulder pads.
Totally.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, I'd be okay with a dozen shoulder pads.
yeah.
if they were cool.
But something, you know, that gives you more points of customization.
Yeah.
Then which two guns do I have equipped? What shield do I have equipped? What grenade do I have equipped?
Right.
And then your skill tree.
I would say
like,
like
that's
for me
not
in
enough.
a loot action game of this type. For me at this point, like the pursuit of a cooler looking character is at least as important as better weapons for me at this point. Maybe more. Like the way that I look and kind of the image you project as you walk around with other players.
I think they were getting.
Yeah.
I think they were slowly getting there.
But none of it was like reward. None of it was like skill based. It was like, oh, you ran over to this refrigerator and now you have the blue skin,
Right.
and that sort of stuff.
You would get them as drops though, like.
Yeah,
on
but
occasion.
they didn't confer any kind of like, hey, I did this
Right.
because I'm fucking badass at this game. You know, it was like, I
that
found
goes
this thing.
without saying,
Like at that
man.
point, why not just buy them?
Yeah.
You know, it just there's no.
Or get a golden key.
Hey, there you go.
Just get a
Well,
shift
follow Randy Pitchford on Twitter. We'll
No.
get these keys.
No,
and
I just no.
just edit the I.
He's got a
It's
USB
easy.
stick full of shift keys.
Oof.
You just got to find it.
You know he's so fucking excited that he's going to be able to do shift keys again.
Oh boy,
They found a way to put shift keys in the original Borderlands.
Right.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
He's so excited. He's so excited.
What a man.
Maybe we're assuming too much. Maybe there's more of that in there. Than,
Yeah,
than we
you
could tell.
have to hope that like that they have been looking at games since Borderlands 2 came out and learned a thing or two. But like I feel like the trailer and this leaked information doesn't necessarily
It seems very iterative.
say that.
Yes.
It does. Like, you know, the song kind of feels the same. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
I mean,
like,
I'm
just the
okay with
general
the same
vibe.
personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's more just certain progression features that
guess
other games have done since then.
I am not okay with the same personality of
Well,
Borderlands
I don't
2.
love it. I don't love it, but I'm okay with it. Like
Borderlands
I can live
1
with it.
was a better balance of that
Yeah,
stuff. And
sure.
so I think there's a way for this game to be well written and
Well,
all that other
there's
stuff. But
according to this leak, there's no real handsome Jack in this, so you're safe there at
yeah,
least.
okay, there's that.
It's definitely going to be like an ensemble cast. You know, they've got a ton of, you know, like returning characters.
Yeah.
We'll see how
like-
that
like
shakes out.
Brick is in the trailer and
His epic sax.
some people like that.
I gotta say, and this is separate from the game, but also it was the other thing I couldn't stop thinking about while just in the car turning this thing on and seeing Randy Pitchford doing magic the whole time.
Ugh.
Like, I am really surprised that he was on stage for this at all. Given like the last time he was in the news, it was allegations of like pedophilia and stuff that, you know, like there's a lot of stuff that like you'd think that you'd just be like, hey, why don't you just hang out in the back for this? We'll get someone to come out and announce the game. Instead of like, it was just him just doing magic this whole time. It was just like, why? This is really crazy. Like just from a, even just a PR, you know, like even if that stuff is just like, hey, some childhood friend of his is trying to stir up shit in the worst way possible and none of it's actually true.
Right.
Like who knows? You know, they'll find out in court, I guess.
That stuff is still
but like that stuff
way
is still
too fresh.
still too fresh.
gotta-
So like the whole time watching that trailer, I was just thinking like, I can't believe that he was out there to announce this game.
You mentioned him seeming kind of sweaty Like I
little bit.
feel like
Maybe,
I don't know if it was the lighting, but he seemed like a little pallid.
Like watching it was just like, dude, don't do this.
A little frenzied.
Like, why?
Granted, he was trying to cover for technical problems, so he was probably a little bit on edge anyway. But like
there's a whole company, in Texas and in Canada or whatever. That surely one of those people could stand out there and announce the game.
Maybe he instills that kind of fear in people that they don't want to stand up to him.
I've got an email from Sean in Chicago that I'm going to read right now. That's pretty similar to what you're saying, but he's got a couple other thoughts about it. After all that's happened with Randy Pitchford and Gearbox this year, I'm finding it bizarre how front and center Randy is with the announcement of Borderlands 3. Outside of the announcement itself, I have also gotten promoted tweets in my Twitter timeline that are from his personal account tweeting about the timeline. Note, I don't follow him. I'm sorry, I think he meant to say tweeting about the game. It seems incredibly stupid to spend promotional dollars, be it from Gearbox or Randy himself, to promote a tweet from the company's CEO who has had numerous scandals in the last 3 months, instead of just using the official company's Twitter account. My only question, I guess, is does the dude have no shame? How did anyone think this was a good idea?
Like, what is 2K thinking, right? I mean, they're publishing this game. Like, you'd think if you were 2K, somebody would be like, hey, we're not
chill.
We're not demanding any action. Like you figure out your stuff, and like if it's not true, then whatever. That'll all be borne out and fine. But just for this right now, we're 2K. We're this publicly traded company. We can't have you out there doing this. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get how that was not brought. Like how that didn't get squashed at some point prior to this.
Maybe that's just the amount of unilateral control he has over the company.
Or maybe
Nobody
he has
tell him what
provided enough information to people that would ask those kind of questions internally to where they're like, okay, we understand that this is not going to stick and this is what, but it's still out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just
also the pedophilia stuff wasn't even the only part of that court case. Like there's also the accusations of him embezzling. Well, maybe embezzling is not the right word, but he supposedly
didn't tell his company about
misappropriation.
Maybe embezzling is the right word. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer or a financial expert, but
also just
they're kind of weird financial dealings and withholding
money
from the company without anybody's knowledge, and just some other weird stuff there too.
Yeah, none of
it was a good look.
I mean, if you want to look at like the long-term Gearbox stuff, like then you just get into all the alien stuff. Like the name of that studio has just been endlessly tarnished to a point where you're like, maybe let's just have the Gearbox name take a bit of a backseat at the announcement, and you guys figure your stuff out and work on making the game great.
Yeah. And
we'll make it right in the end, assuming that everything pans out. Yeah. Or if something doesn't pan out, then oh god, we're in business with this guy. Yeah. Oh no, it's a very bizarre situation.
Yes,
where you've got, and then at the core of it is this lawsuit where two childhood friends are suing and countersuing each other over this stuff. It's I don't even know what to make of it. I mean, how could I know what to make of it?
Yeah,
because of like other than the allegations sure sound fucking terrible in a way where you'd be like, hey, maybe don't put this guy out there.
Well, that is the whole point. Is that because we don't know what to make of it, maybe just play it safe.
Maybe just focus on the game and not a panel full of magic. What are you doing?
Perhaps you have hired someone else recently who was also good on stage and could go up and hype your game.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
He's in a different department.
That's fine. That's fine.
But hey.
Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
It's coming out.
And maybe coming out in September.
Yeah, did you say something about
some deleted tweet that I think pointed to like a mid-September release date for this? Which seems soon until you realize, like, oh, right, they have been working on this thing forever and just hadn't announced it.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
All
right, sure.
I am very much open to a great Borderlands game.
Totally. I don't want to
really like that first game.
I'm not going to play it.
The second game was disappointing
by the time pre-sequel came out.
And I did not finish pre-sequel. I did not play that much of it because it was just that oxygen thing was just not fun.
I did not like that mechanic.
And the writing of game made in Australia and made the moon into fake Australia.
Oh yeah,
like
New Zealand or something.
Yeah. That game And I guess people seem to then all that stuff kind of came to a head again when Tales from the Borderlands came out, and it was like, oh man, when you give this these characters in this world to really great writers, it isn't bad. It's actually really good. So I think that it made Borderlands 2 kind of worse in retrospect almost.
Yo, you see when the siren went like this and she had 6 blue arms? It was pretty awesome. I can't.
I'm sure it will play well.
Yeah, good. I'm excited.
Valve updated the Steam Store page at some point last week. What day was it? The 29th?
Congrats to them.
Yes, I think it was Friday. With just a giant image of a pair of hands clutching a previously unseen VR headset. With the tagline, "Upgrade your experience, May 2019." And I don't know where the name Valve Index
I think
came
that was
from.
also on that page.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Valve Index stuff was...
Maybe I missed that. I looked at it on my phone when it first went up on the bus.
That's usually...
Or maybe I just missed that. But rumors about Valve making their own headset have been going around for a while now.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was a leaked photo of a production headset with a big fat exposed circuit board a few months ago. And it looks an awful lot like the image they put up on their thing.
Oh, it does.
So yeah, that's... Oh, you know what? Yeah, if you squint, it's held at an extreme angle, but you can make out the words Valve Index on the headset.
Yeah.
So yeah, Valve... It's always been such a weird partnership with them and HTC on the Vive, because... Or I guess more to the point, it's easy to forget that HTC is actually the maker of the Vive.
Right.
And just think of the Vive as Valve's headset.
It's when they announced Vive is coming out with, or HTC is coming out with Viveport, a subscription service to play VR games. Like, they're not Steam. It's their own separate thing.
Technically just a partnership.
And then you heard about, all this talk over the years about all the VR headsets and all the hardware that Valve had made over the years and all the people they had brought in to make VR headsets. And you're like, oh, but did that all go into the Vive, or what is happening?
Yeah.
In that last round of the layoffs not that long ago, there was some talk early on there that was like, oh, this was like the VR hardware team. Maybe they don't care about VR. No, they still care about VR.
Yeah, apparently. Nothing else really from Valve. Obviously, it sounds like next month we'll find out the details. There is some stuff.
How do we know that? How do we know?
Well, it said on the page, May 2019. So they're obviously... real quick, I forgot to mention at the end of that Borderlands trailer, they say, I think the phrasing is "see more" April 3rd, which is tomorrow. Speaking of things that are going to get fleshed out more in the future, they're apparently going to show more of Borderlands 3 tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
But they're also going to show more of the Valve Index next month, according to that thing. So we'll find out details then.
I assume that means it's out then.
Maybe. Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Because also a store page went up and down.
With
some more details.
I missed
with
that.
Some very loose details.
Well, so some stuff got streamed out by a developer also, like a part of a Steam control panel, like a beta version of Steam VR.
Oh yeah,
got streamed out that people were able to. This is so flimsy, it's almost not worth talking about. But they were able to see like the resolution scale slider for this headset.
Scale slider.
Because you can have the VR heads, you can have the game render at higher than the VR resolution, the actual resolution of the screens.
But there's a physical slider.
Well, this already existed for the Vive
in software.
Yeah, this is in the Steam VR control panel. Sorry, and you could already do this on the Vive. So people are looking at that and trying to infer what the actual resolution of the screens in this thing are going to be. But they even say like, hey, this could be completely off base. Like, we can make some assumptions off of this.
Sure.
The general thought seems to be it's either going to be the same resolution as the Vive Pro, which is already quite good, or it may be higher.
I thought I saw a wider field of view.
So that is, I think that's more of a lens
like
thing.
135 degree or something like that.
I think that's down to the type of lenses they're using.
Okay.
I think I saw something about a dual Fresnel setup.
Ooh, dual Fresnels.
But that would kind of by default make it the best headset on the market, right? If they
potentially,
if they're able to give it a wider field of view than we've seen, and like apparently there are 2 screen makers that have higher resolution screens coming very soon, or maybe ready now, so it could be using some of those. And then it sounds like it's going to be at a minimum as good as the Vive Pro.
Yeah, and then it looks like it will require base stations, the existing base stations,
Oh, really?
And also will work with the knuckle controllers. Or those will finally be coming
Oh,
out
does
as
it
like
not
the
have-
Valve Index controllers.
Does it not have Inside Out?
The store page kind of said like, hey, you need base stations and these and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, next story. Oh man, I don't.
Yeah, it's there's a part of me that would like, I'm not opposed to getting a better VR headset, as dumb as that sounds.
Yeah.
But I'm still not going to put base stations up in my house. I'm just not in a position where I can. Like even the Oculus sensors are kind of a pain in the ass.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're totally right. I misread this. I was looking at this Upload VR story. I misinterpreted their phrasing. Yeah, it says flat out here that the Index is expected to deliver the next generation of Valve's outside-in tracking.
Yeah.
So, man, that immediately
Yeah.
completely dampens any enthusiasm I had for this.
Yeah, so I guess like how much how much are you willing to trade off like quality wise in the experience just to get inside out tracking? I think that's the like when the Rift S stuff came up, and like I know people have kind of been shitting on that thing. From a specs perspective. Just
it don't
like
need
what
no
it is
sensors.
and the price, but it doesn't need sensors.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that's like, actually, that's pretty attractive right now in my current setup, even though I already own a Rift. There's some part of me that's like, if I could get better resolution, but like the screens maybe aren't as good. They're not AMOLED screens, but I get rid of those fucking sensors and kind of freely use my VR headset without having to calibrate,
pretty much the
calibrate
exact
as much.
situation I'm in, because that Windows Mixed Reality headset, I think specs-wise, is probably worse than the Rift or the Vive.
Yeah.
Except maybe in a couple of minor ways, but the convenience, like I said, of just plugging a couple cables in and just going,
right,
totally worth it.
Yeah.
The other thing, this is like a rumor of a rumor, basically, but there has been some talk over the last few months that there is some kind of Half-Life project in development. At Valve for this thing.
Is Half-Life VR the new Half-Life 3?
Maybe. I forget where that came from. Like it bubbled back up when Valve posted this teaser image.
I feel like it was
course,
some number of years ago when we talked to someone who had played a Half-Life project at Valve.
Yeah.
Who said
right.
they were only allowing it to be demoed in VR.
That's right.
On account of that's what the game was.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I just remembered that.
Yeah. And then heard not that long after that like, that's not it. It's now this other thing.
Yeah.
This other thing.
How many
that I'm sure is also long dead.
Yeah, how many versions of a Half-Life 3 have existed inside Valve?
More. Let's actually. What's the over under? How many more or less? So how many games have been iterated or rebooted more times? Half-Life 3 or Dragon Age 4?
Ooh, I'm gonna say Half-Life.
You're probably right. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. When you stretch out the timeline,
at some point EA is like, all right, let's go ship something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, on the one hand, that is like the most obvious bullshit rumor you could possibly think of. On the other hand, if you're Valve and you want to sell your headset, that's also the most obvious thing you could possibly make.
If you're Valve and you're really not feeling like you're pissing people off enough, and you really want to double down on some stuff, a VR only Half-Life is the way.
What if it was in VR only?
That's what I'm saying.
What if it was a lot cooler in VR?
Oh, I mean, yeah, but like, I'm not saying that you. Yes, they should make a really awesome Half-Life VR game.
Yeah,
totally. But after all these years, if they were like, "Hey, Gordon Freeman's next chapter, VR exclusive," that would be right up there with like saying, "Hey, Gordon Freeman's next chapter, Linux only."
Yeah.
That's not to say they won't do it, but I suspect that if they were to do a VR Half-Life project, it would not be the next chapter in Gordon Freeman's story. It would be a Half-Life universe.
That's probably true.
Sort of thing, or something like that.
That's probably the case. Anyway, we'll find out more next month.
But man, what if they did? Oof.
Would really be something.
I would love to watch it, and I would love to watch that happen. Like I hate that, but that's
I get it.
I would love to watch them say, hey, here it is. It's Half-Life 3. You should buy a Valve Index.
I feel like a terrible person for feeling like
I would just love to watch, just sit back and just go like, all right, let's watch this.
Yep.
Okay,
I feel like watching that drama play out would have to be more entertaining than any new Half-Life game could be.
I got to tell you, man, if you wanted to see people pivot away from shitting all over the Epic Store, a VR exclusive Half-Life game would probably be the thing.
Now I want it to happen. Honestly, I mean, if you think about like, what was the impact of Half-Life 2? It was all that crazy physics shit, right?
Yeah.
So like, if you really wanted to do like, here is the next gen, here's the next generation of crazy physics abilities in a first-person shooter, having tactile touch controller shit is almost a necessity.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And it seems like physics have just it's a long time has passed since then.
Yes.
So I think if you were doing Half-Life 3, like the mere notion of physics puzzles is not enough.
Yeah.
I suspect they probably realized that at some point.
Totally.
Multiple times.
I've assumed forever that the reason they haven't made another Half-Life is because like both Half-Life games were like watershed moments in first-person shooters, and like if you feel like you have to deliver that with every game, like. And you can't think of something?
I mean, Half-Life 2, definitely a watershed moment. Let's talk about Sin.
Okay.
Now, Sin's a great game.
Uh-huh.
You got JC there kind of backing you up.
He hits that pigeon with the sniper rifle right there in the intro. Particle systems. Right there. I was, at the time, I was super stoked for Sin.
Sin's multiplayer is
and kind of like,
fun.
Half-Life looks all right.
Post those games coming out, I think I was still on the side of Sin, honestly.
Yeah. Half-Life was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway, I just, like, what is a Half-Life 3 in terms of, like, redefining the genre again?
Yeah, right. I mean,
I have no idea.
What do you
Fucking no idea.
Again, that's one of those things that if you had the answer to that question, you wouldn't be here asking it.
Right,
You'd be off making it.
Totally. So I assume they don't have the answer either. Might as well just talk about Artifact now, since we're talking about Valve.
Okay.
They posted an article on the Artifact site, or kind of a blog post called "Towards a Better Artifact." The gist of it is basically, the kind of the standout line from this post is, Artifact represents the largest discrepancy between our expectations for how one of our games would be received and the actual outcome. So, Nobody has any illusions about how Artifact is doing based on the concurrent players numbers at the moment, even them. But they're basically saying, like, we were going to follow our normal pattern of just pumping out content for this thing, kind of rapid updates based on feedback from players, but we're going to take longer and think about fully reworking this game.
I mean, they don't have players to give the feedback anymore.
that is part of the problem, I guess.
It seems like I guess it was like mostly the monetization, right? Like the main complaint. I feel like people that played Artifact were like, "Oh, this is a good card game," but I don't like it's maybe not good enough for me to abandon whatever else I'm playing. Yeah. Combined with like the money aspect of it is,
I think it was mostly
not palatable to players.
I think it was mostly the business model. I mean, the kind of design-related complaints I heard were like the lack of progression was really shitty, and also it seemed like some people thought the matches were a little too long. But
I mean, for a Dota-based card game, the matches should be too long, right? I mean,
trying to get away from Dota here. But yeah, like the business model is just insane to me with what every other card game on the market is.
Yeah, because you got to buy in, and
you have to buy the game, and then you have to buy card packs. Like there is no real unlocking card packs. There's no. It's not free to play. There's no mobile version.
There's weird tickets to arenas and stuff like that.
Like it just didn't feel like it was ticking any of the boxes that games in the genre are supposed to do.
Huh.
So anyway, they say,
but they're saying kind of like our bad on like even just the game design as well.
I think
So they're kind of not going back to the drawing board, but they're going to be experimenting.
Yeah, they're like very contrite in this thing. We don't think that players misunderstand our game or that they're playing it wrong.
Right. You think players are going to stick with them during this experimentation phase?
No one's sticking with them. Like they kind of say, hey, we're going to go off and work on this for a good long time and be quiet about it.
We expect this process of experimentation and development to take a significant amount of time.
So it might just be like they'll have a full relaunch at some point and try to make a new appeal to new players and say, here's our thing, as opposed to please come back to Artifact, because there just aren't enough people to come back.
I mean, there's plenty of precedent for this working and being fine if they pull it off, like Final Fantasy XIV is like probably the most famous example. Like the Destiny games have gone through it to a large extent. The Division, like there's tons of examples of games making good.
Anthem is trying to go through it.
Yeah. People are willing to come back if you fix the problems.
But I think the thing with Artifact is that maybe there weren't quite enough players showing up to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, like word of mouth was pretty poisonous. Like once the monetization stuff, even prior to launch,
sure,
I think people were just like, oh, well, that's not something I want to do. And yeah, so
I mean, I assume it has to be free to play when it comes back, right?
Hey, we'll see. It'll be VR only.
Yeah. I need a mobile version. I don't want to sit at a computer to play a card game. If I was going to play that thing, it would be in transit or something.
This will be the new Half-Life 3.
There you go. Is Artifact the new Half-Life
3 lanes, 3 Half-Lives.
Yep.
Right. Sega Genesis Mini.
This is little.
It's coming out September 19th.
Yeah.
This is official, first party, not the one that I can get at my Walgreens right now.
So this one is
so weird.
So they announced one of these, and At Games was going to do it.
Right.
And At Games is the company that has done a lot of those shit boxes that have found their way into Walgreens and all of those places.
Here is where this breaks down for me, or I didn't understand what was going on here, because didn't units of that get out? I could have sworn there were at least like preview units out there.
Yeah, maybe they were getting close.
Really?
I forget what it was.
Maybe I misunderstood.
But like other units in this ilk that have played, Genesis
totally.
things have definitely come out.
But I mean the official one from Sega.
Right.
I could have sworn there were like review units out there with the At Game stuff on it.
You might be right.
Like, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, anyway,
like a year ago or something. Or last summer or something.
So they ended up canning that thing.
Yeah.
Or pulling back on it.
Right.
And just going like, oh, well, clearly we have entrusted our brand to people that cannot get the job done, so we're going to look elsewhere. And so M2 is doing this, which they did all that cool. They've done a lot of cool like emulation work with Sega's stuff.
Yeah, they did the Sega Ages releases.
Those are weird.
Yeah, but good, right? Like people seem pretty.
Well,
happy with that stuff.
they're weird because like they're good quality emulation.
Yeah.
Good extras. I think
is that the one that starts kind of in like an 80s bedroom? And
no,
you have like a shelf of Genesis games.
That's a different thing.
Okay.
No, they did a lot of this stuff for consoles.
Okay.
And I want to say they did like the 3DS stuff where they're like adding 3D to some of those games. Like
weird.
M2's done a lot of.
Okay. They seem to be a fairly trusted name as far as this stuff goes.
They're definitely like renowned for this stuff. And
so yeah, they're going to be doing all the work on the software now.
Yeah.
For this thing.
And cool tidbit, menu music by Yuzo Koshiro.
Yes.
Ooh,
yes, like somebody over there knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, okay.
Meanwhile, more Streets of Rage 4 footage got out.
Yeah, I saw
Music
that.
bad.
Yeah.
No.
Music still bad.
No.
I'm not.
Gameplay is still probably good though.
Still not quite sold on that art style either.
Yeah, the gameplay is very juggled. Like when we played it back at Seattle PAX.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is like promising, but it's like kind of.
I've heard a lot of people coming away from it saying that it's being treated like very like close to.
Well, it's
the original.
Super juggle focused,
okay.
or maybe not focused, but like you can juggle enemies back and forth between enemies. So it's a lot of like air combo stuff that the original games didn't have.
That could be super fun.
Yeah, which like when I think Ben and I played it, and it was fun. It didn't necessarily feel exactly like the
Streets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than like, oh, this is kind of the same animation, or hey, you put this move in here from Streets of Rage. Like it's got that stuff for sure.
Okay.
But I think I came away from it going like maybe it just didn't have enough Streets of Rage feel. And talking to them then about the music, they were like, of course we know we don't have anything to announce, but we think it was like this. I got this kind of like wink and a nod kind of response that led me to think like, oh, well, maybe they're still talking and maybe it'll still happen because clearly they know that like the music is a big part of those games. But here we are, kind of
still the
significant amount of time later, and you listen to that music and you're like, that's not right. That's not Streets of Rage.
Well,
what kind of games are we looking at?
There is no Streets of Rage announced for this thing so far. It's going to have 40 games on it. At first, this was at a Sega event in Japan on stage. At first, they announced games for the Japanese release. such as Sonic 2, Puyo Puyo 2, Shining Force, Castlevania Bloodlines,
Oh, cool.
Powerball, Gunstar Heroes,
Nice.
Comics Zone, Rent a Hero, and Space Harrier 2.
Okay.
But that's the Japanese list. They then subsequently announced some of the games for the U.S. release, such as Altered Beast. Castlevania Bloodlines is on there. Comic Zone is on there.
Yep.
Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Yeah.
Echo the Dolphin. Gunstar Heroes. Shining Force.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog 1, but not 2 so far, like the Japanese release. Space Harrier 2. Toe Jam and Earl. I don't think there's a European release list yet. Like I said, there are 40 games, so there's quite a few more that will be announced.
Last but most important question.
Ooh, I think I know where this is going.
What kind of controller are we talking about?
This is fucking crazy to me. The Japanese version gets the 6-button controller. The US version gets the 3-button controller.
No.
What?
Gross.
Why?
Why?
I mean, presumably they won't ship any games on the US one that requires a 6-button pad. But
that severely limits you.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to think, is there,
is that 3-button revered in any way to anybody? I don't think so.
Not especially.
Right.
That controller was fine.
It's not terrible.
But it's not a 6-button controller.
But also, how many games? Okay,
really made use of it.
It was like some fighting games that I really care about. But like, they're not going to put the Genesis version of MK2 on there, or like Street Fighter Special Champion Edition. Like, you don't need those.
Yeah, they might put Eternal Champions on, but I guess that.
God, I hope not. But like, kind of once you get through like those, like that handful of games, like I'm trying to think, like, what are the iconic 6-button Genesis games that you really need?
You know what I really need is a good ass D-pad. And that 3-button controller was
I was going to say, like,
it's USB, so you could theoretically get these Japanese 6-button pads.
Or maybe
they would just work.
Or maybe other controllers in general might work. Yeah, I was going to say, like, it's not just the extra buttons, right? Weren't there other improvements?
Yeah, the D-pad.
Yeah, the D-pad's really good.
Yeah.
On 6-button.
Yeah.
In Japan, there are going to be 2 models, one with 1 controller, one with 2. In the US, there's just going to be the one $80 model that'll have 2 controllers.
Okay.
So one of the promo images they put out just says, made by Sega, Genesis Mini delivers quality as only a first-party product can. Like, they feel, it seems like they are very sensitive to the criticism of the at-game stuff.
Yeah, that's
and they're really trying to get across, like, hey, we're controlling this now. It's not going to be terrible. So,
in my opinion, that stuff has been poor.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, well, I was going to say we can't do many more of these classic consoles, right? But on the other hand, we're running out of consoles. So
yeah, we're running out.
There's not that many more to do unless NEC comes out of nowhere.
There you go.
With some PC Engine shit.
Mm-hmm.
But
Kanye West presents.
There you go. Now that's a tie-in I could get behind.
I don't know.
Actually, you know what? Actually, in this day and age, actually, you're right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that stuff.
I miss the old Kanye.
Yeah. But also, yeah, man, I don't know. Whatever. It's not like, this is a legitimate product. You are paying the company that owns this stuff for the right to play it.
Yeah.
It's not like the Mister or some of that other stuff is, like the analog. What's the
the Mega SG?
Mega SG just came out. Like,
yeah.
Some of that stuff is a little more gray area.
No, I mean, it's, that Mega SG is $200.
Yeah.
And you provide your own cartridges.
Yeah, you're using legitimate cartridges there.
Though
so that's fine.
the jailbreak firmware came out yesterday for that.
Okay.
So loading games off of SD is possible.
Okay.
Though I might say if you're already crossing that bridge and you love to tinker with stuff, the Mister does a lot of that too.
That's really what I'm getting at. Is it's hard for me to get excited about any of this stuff in a world where the Mister exists.
Yeah. If they get to a point, and well, they probably won't be able to just because of what the Sega CD is internally. But I need a thing that can play Sega CD games without spinning a disc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the Sega CD itself is like a kind of a flimsy unit. It's not the most reliable. Yeah. Well, I got a couple of those too. But
the Mega SG works with all models of Sega CD, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, so I guess with the with that jailbreak firmware that's out, now you can put, so the Sega CD is region locked.
Oh.
You can burn discs, but it is region locked.
Huh.
But I guess so with the jailbreak firmware, you can load a BIOS from an alternate region to kind of get around that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
That thing looks nice, but I don't know. I don't know that I want to spend $200 for a device that plays one platform.
I get some of the production reasons why they've gone this direction, but the fact that they,
or I guess actually I should say, because that thing also will play Master System games, Game Gear games.
Oh,
they're
because
going to put out some cartridge adapters.
Because you can plug a power-based converter into it.
I think you can, but also they're just going to sell straight up like Master System and controller adapter, and then SG 1000, 3000 adapters or whatever.
That's cool.
Which and then the jailbreak firmware also plays ColecoVision games because that stuff's pretty similar. Hardware-wise,
I get there are some production issues around just like multiple cartridge slots and multiple controller ports and stuff. Like obviously the Retron 5 is kind of a like clunky looking thing.
Yeah,
but I'm kind of bummed that Analog has gone in this direction of just putting out boxes for every different console.
It's the thing that makes money, right? I mean, they're running a business.
Totally.
So
I get it.
They're doubling down on, hey, we're making a thing that evokes the design of that original console, but nice and modern.
If you're saying there's a degree of fetishism involved, then I get it.
We're talking about FPGA gaming. Fetishism is all there is.
Well, yeah, but I mean, for me, it's more just practicality of like, I only have so many HDMI ports. Like I've only got so much room on a shelf to put boxes on, and I just want one box that plays everything.
There you go. That's the thing I want as well.
Yeah.
Like the Super NT is really cool.
Yeah.
I bought an NT Mini, which ended up being the most flexible of all of them because that can play. Once you put the different firmware on it, it's like what is it, like Game Boy and like all kinds of the cores for that thing.
Yeah.
That then didn't happen on the Super NT, and so that at that point I was like, oh well, I'm not in this to get a thing that looks sort of like an old console to put on a shelf. As much as I think the Mega SD looks really nice, it doesn't do what I need it to do.
Yeah,
just fundamentally,
Also, I feel like the number of ways to play old games is increasing exponentially at this point. Like there are just so many handhelds and weird little integrated systems coming out all over the place.
Yeah,
because like I guess compute power has gotten to the point where emulating a lot of those old systems is just kind of trivial at this point.
And the FPGA stuff is a different beast
that is
for sure. But I guess like then that leads me to like, well, the Mister is open source, and there are multiple people working on it in different ways and doing different things, and that's attractive.
Yeah.
That it's not necessarily locked up behind like, oh, we got to put out this jailbreak firmware, wink, wink. Like that stuff's. I just don't need that. So
anyway, September 19th for this Mini.
Okay.
If you just want to, I can see the appeal of having a shelf somewhere with a bunch of tiny consoles on it.
Yeah.
Even if they're not hooked up to anything. So.
And if you want like Genesis. USB Genesis controllers, like
sure.
Yeah, maybe that'll work on a PC. I assume that stuff would work on a PC.
Yeah. So a week or so ago, it was going around that Sony was going to stop selling codes for games at retail. I don't know if you guys saw this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like basically, you would not be able to go into a GameStop and buy a code for MK11 or whatever. You could continue buying, PSN credit,
right,
but not specific games.
And that went into effect like yesterday.
Yeah. So it seems like the other component of this policy change is that Sony's going to finally start offering some kinds of refunds on the PlayStation Store.
Crazy. Okay.
It's still pretty limited though. You can refund pre-orders now, which you couldn't even do before.
Yeah.
You literally could not refund a game that had not come out yet in the past.
Wow.
So you can do that now.
Okay.
Thankfully. You also have 14 days after release to refund a game that you have not yet downloaded. So still no like trying a game and deciding you hate it and refunding it like you can do on Steam.
In a weird way, that kind of puts you in a situation where you could, like, let's say you want some pre-order bonus.
Yeah.
But you're not sure if the game's going to be any good. That would put you in a position where you could pre-order it. So if you do, if reviews hit and it's a positive, it's like, oh, this is great. Then you'd be like, cool, I got the cool shit with it. I didn't have to like wait until post-release.
Yeah.
and not get some bonus item or whatever. Not that stuff matters that much, but I guess that creates some weird pathway for that.
Yeah. But that also creates this weird situation where you pre-ordered a game, but you don't download it when it comes out.
Right.
Until you're sure that people don't hate it.
That is a weird one.
Yeah, it's a strange situation, but it's better than what they had before. So it sounds like that's pretty close to what Microsoft has on the Xbox One now. So that's something. Because in the past, like even getting a refund for a pre-order sounded like a nightmare of a process.
Yeah,
on the PS4.
Like you were talking to someone and it was probably discretionary at some point.
I want to say I saw people saying that you could basically do it like once per account.
Ah.
They would tell you like, all right, this is your one. Don't do this again. In other PlayStation 4 news, Drive Club is going away. Anybody?
I hardly knew you.
Yeah, they're pulling it off the store on August 31st. Servers will be shutting down next March.
I'm curious. I can't remember what you can do with that game offline. I assume there's still some stuff to be clubs to be driven, just not online clubs.
Some kind of career stuff.
Yeah. But I remember that aspect of the game being that whole game is flimsy.
Yeah. Probably not a lot of tears being shed over this, but there was a conversation around Drive Club when it came out.
That it was bad.
Sure. So I thought it was worth.
Yeah, that was the main conversation. It was just like, oh, well, that was the game that, like, when they were announcing it. I think wasn't that the one where the guy was the most porny about the cars.
Yeah. Speaking of fetishism.
Yeah, where it's just
like way into cars.
Like, I'm gonna take this car out back and break it off.
Wait, is that a direct quote?
No.
I missed that segment, but now I wonder.
I wish someone would just come out and say it.
This story led me to Sony's support page, which, first of all, is titled Decommissioned Servers, which I think is hilarious because it just...
Ship graveyard.
Yes, it calls to mind like a bunch of World War II battleships or something. But I looked at the list, and there's some stuff on here I don't remember going away. Like Drawn to Death got shut down.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Sound Shapes and Counterspy. Wipeout HD? HD Fury in 2048? Like, those didn't come out that long ago, did they?
But those are those just the PS3 or like Vita?
It's listed under PlayStation 4.
Oh, huh.
Well,
because they did that VR update, so I figured that would have been.
Yeah, that's only listed under PS4. So that one really stood out to me as being kind of crazy. It's mostly stuff Tomorrow Children.
Yeah.
Killzone 2 and 3.
I would think, and maybe it's just, this is me knowing jack fuck about how video games are made, but I would have thought that one of the things that developers would have tried to get in the habit of is like making a common enough server technology that, like, if a client requests a game, it can spin up a server for it.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, so you just have like generic racks.
Yeah.
That, like, if you say like, oh, I want to play the Wipeout, it goes, all right, cool, you can.
I think
no one's going to join this game, but you can.
I may be mistaken, but I think that's exactly what Microsoft has, but only as of this generation.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they touted that when the Xbox One came out. So it's possible Sony just didn't get that stuff together.
Yeah, maybe.
In time for the PS4. Hopefully they will have it next time. Do you guys remember the instance of swatting that occurred? Let's see.
Which one?
Close to a year and a half ago. Well, I was going to say the one that resulted in someone actually dying.
Oh, jeez.
It was that Call of Duty situation. It was actually around Call of Duty World War II. It was late 2017. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know that I remember it specifically.
I can't remember if we talked about it at the time. I remember it vividly because it was the first instance of, literally a dumbass prank swatting kind of thing resulting in somebody getting shot and dying. Anyway, the swatter has been sentenced to 20 years in prison.
That's it.
I mean, maybe it's a sad commentary on the state of the justice system that I thought that was more than I expected.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of with you, but also 20 years is not nothing.
Yeah, I know.
So,
yeah.
I mean, what'll involuntary manslaughter get you? I
don't know.
That's kind of what this is.
Also, I don't know what the charge was.
But yeah, what did they eventually get him on? Was it like fraud?
Federal charges.
Fraud.
Federal charges of making a false report resulting in a death.
Okay.
cyber stalking, and conspiracy, among other false threats.
Those are some good ones.
Yeah.
I guess.
So anyway, I feel like there has not been as much swatting activity going on since this happened,
Good.
but certainly this, you would think,
Yeah.
will have a dampening effect on that stuff, because fuck that.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yes. Fuck that.
Video games not that serious, people. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Also, the other two people involved in that whole thing, including the person who was being targeted by the swatting, are also being charged for other stuff, related stuff.
Okay.
So, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't be involved in any way.
Jesus.
Fuck's sake, man. The internet is terrible. Speaking of the internet being terrible,
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Keep going.
I thought it was noteworthy that an update for Minecraft has come out that has scrubbed the name of Notch from the splash screen.
Oh, okay.
Overdue.
Yeah.
Because then, like, the little rotating
they have the
messages.
little fun messages when you launch it.
The little taglines that would pop up.
Fun
That
Notch
said,
messages.
that said made by Notch and stuff like that.
Okay.
No longer there.
Yeah,
Which
he's still listed in the credits, which you know,
his
obviously
name's
he,
not totally
he did have a
gone.
role in making that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not like legally required to do that, but it's probably the right thing to do to credit people for their work, regardless
a
of
lot of kids
how
play that
terrible
game.
they have become.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like that little like random banner thing has needed an update for a long time. I feel like there was a lot of stuff in there that was just like, what is this?
Yeah, maybe so. But
so I wonder if it was more just like, hey, a lot of this is super out of date, and you know, let's take this stuff out.
Yeah.
Or if this was specifically like, yo, this guy fucking sucks.
yeah, if you haven't kept up with Notch lately, he has revealed himself to be an unbelievably shitty person.
And now at this point, like, you know, I'm sure like the team at Mojang that has stayed on it, and whatever resources Microsoft has put on it, like they have probably spent more time making it than he ever did.
I've seen people say that was true even well before they sold.
Yeah,
but I can't verify that personally.
So yeah. Minecraft. I've been thinking about playing some Minecraft.
I have
lately.
also been thinking about Minecraft. I saw that there was that path tracing stuff that made it look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds enticing.
I've been thinking about setting up a Minecraft server.
Do it
at home.
Do it.
Okay.
Let me on your server.
But I can't decide which version. Like there's basically two now.
Yeah.
Like there's the original Java version.
Don't run that one.
Okay.
Why would
that?
you?
Well, I mean, I've got certain like operating system constraints. It seems like
OS2 warp, huh?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I almost downloaded an ISO of OS2 off of archive.org recently because I wanted to spin it up in a VM. Basically, there's the old Java version, which I gather is still the one that gets updated first, I think.
But
there's also now
most of the work goes into that.
There's also now
Xbox
the
Live-ified.
Well, yeah. So
like
now there's
Bedrock
the Bedrock edition,
Yeah.
which actually grew out of the Pocket edition. Like it started as just the mobile version, but now it's everything that's not Java. So I thought, like, of course, Bedrock is the one you would do.
Yeah.
But then all the platform holders have different restrictions on what you can do with their version of Minecraft. So, like, I want to say Xbox One can only join servers on a LAN, not over the internet. Switch, I think, can't join external servers at all. Like every version is different.
You can only connect to like the paid,
their
like
official,
their official hosted ones,
official servers.
right?
So like every version is different, basically. Like I thought, like, oh, you just run a Bedrock server and then everybody can play on your server, but it's not that easy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
A lot to think about.
Also, I want to say all that like shader stuff is maybe only for the Java version.
Really? Okay. So I thought my impression was that
wrong.
original Minecraft was like so out of date that stuff like that would be gargantuan in scope, if not impossible.
I hope I'm not speaking a bunch of nonsense here, but from just kind of a cursory glance at the Minecraft scene, it looked to me like the Java version is still getting updates.
Oh wow!
First, it's complicated.
Yeah,
it's
I have not looked in on like the last few times. I've been like, I should play some Minecraft.
Yeah.
I just like grabbed the Windows Store version. That I got for free because at some point I got the Xbox 360 version or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah, we should maybe play some Minecraft.
It's fun times. I still do it occasionally.
Yeah, you want to play some? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That makes me want to try to get that server going. Last couple quick stories. I feel like this is like just a commentary on where we're at with E3, that it's kind of news that Ubisoft announced they're doing their press conference at the normal time.
Yay.
Which is 1 p.m. on the Monday of that week, which is the day before the show starts. So that's Bethesda and Ubi have come out and said they're basically doing their same thing.
Yeah.
Sony's out. EA is kind of out.
Yeah. We're pretty sure Microsoft is doing it.
Yeah, I don't think Microsoft has announced any timing for their stuff.
But like all of their positioning has been like, oh yeah, we'll be at E3.
Yeah, it sounds like they will be going big. It's just, a question of if they're doing their normal Monday morning thing or if they try to like take advantage of that.
I would assume there would be a Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, that'll probably happen. But I mean, that was always kind of like low impact for them anyway. Or low, low commitment.
You didn't go to a building, but it was still, the announcements were typically
Oh yeah,
meaningful.
totally. It's a big
There
deal.
were 10,000 changes in that game.
It's true. There's a lot of those, some substantial patch notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal news-wise, but it's as far as being at E3,
Right,
it's
yes.
not as big a thing.
And I wonder, since now Sony has rolled out their like video show equivalent
Right.
of Nintendo Direct,
Yeah.
do they do something
Like around E3.
around E3? Do they get out ahead of it? Do they go shortly after?
Yeah, you can probably assume we will hear more from Sony before E3.
Yeah.
Even if they're not there. Lastly, as you mentioned earlier, they're giving away a free year of Nintendo Switch Online if you got Twitch Prime.
Sorry to blow up your news spot,
Oh, that's cool.
but yeah, check it out, man. That's free stuff.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, it is only $20 a year, so it's pretty cheap. But
5 Apex crates.
oh, is that a new benefit?
And it's since Apex came out.
And the purple Pathfinder skin.
yeah.
Okay, I already got all that stuff.
Dang.
See, I don't have. I have like my old roommate subscribed to Amazon and put me on that account.
Oh,
So I get the shipping stuff, but not any of the media or this other stuff.
I promise you, if I could get the shipping benefits for free and none of this other stuff, I would take that.
Yeah,
over this stuff.
I've come close a couple of times to
heartbeat.
been like, oh, there's like a Twitch channel. I wouldn't mind throwing $5 at here and there for funsies.
Yeah.
And some of those other benefits, like I've kind of come close a couple of times to going like, I'll sign up for my own shit.
Yeah.
But there's no going back.
The shipping is the thing.
Yeah.
With Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
That's what you're there for. The other
Have you
stuff.
seen they're trying to corral people into getting one shipment a week?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
I saw that.
Prime Day.
Yeah,
my
pick your
girlfriend told me
Prime
about
Day,
that.
which seems like
make
it so we don't have to ship your stuff for free all the time and just get it all once a week because that's convenient for you.
I mean,
And I'm like, no, you know what's convenient for me? Me clicking this button and having a thing show up in like 2 days.
yeah. I mean, there are circumstances where it would be nice to be able to know exactly what day everything is coming, so you don't have to worry
No,
about
it's not impossible. Like,
Let's say you live in a city and occasionally delivery people will just drop your box on the sidewalk,
yeah, that's dumb.
and then the box, like say a pair of shoes, just disappears off your.
Disappearing shoes.
Yeah.
It happens.
Need better neighbors.
So So there are cases where it would be nice to be able to schedule that stuff, but yeah, it's clear what they are trying to do. Do you get any benefit for that?
No,
Nothing.
no.
It's literally
credit?
just because they also have a thing where you can take the regular shipping option and not the Prime
No
shipping,
rush,
but then
yeah.
they give you like $5 credit
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
to use later. But at that point, why are you paying the money in the first place?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. This seems kind of cool, and it at first made me wonder if that implied anything about like the sign up rate for Nintendo Switch Online, but probably not.
I feel like enough like big games and big things have come through the Twitch Prime program that I don't know that you could say that one way or the other.
You're probably right. Also, it's broken up. You can only get 90 days, I believe, off the bat. I think it's 3 months. And then if you stay signed up to Twitch Prime for 60 days, you can come back and get the other 9 months.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, so you can't just sign up for a free trial and get the year and then bounce.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a cool promotion, I guess.
Totally. Yeah, that's that's
different
That's
than
the
just-
thing. Like again, as someone who is kind of always assessing, like, is my free shipping only Prime better than all this other stuff? Like that's like a bigger thing in the favor of like, if I bounce on this, I could get. But I already signed up for a Nintendo.
Well, so
thing,
they also let you add this to your
Okay,
account.
all right.
So if you already signed up, this just adds another year on. So it's they seem to be handling it pretty well.
That seems. It feels like that those sorts of like benefits for existing games. I feel like has been more popular than which is a weird thing. But like for a while, they were like, "Hey, we're giving away actual games on Twitch Prime.
Yeah.
Please download our client, which is like the reskinned Curse client,
right,
to get stuff." And I feel like I'd never hear anyone. The only time I ever hear that stuff coming up, or whenever, if they're even still doing it, it was people going like, "Oh, right, yeah, I never did that. I always forgot to get the games."
Yeah, I still see a fair amount of that. But I fucking went there day one for that Apex stuff.
Yeah.
Got my stupid Pathfinder skin. All right. That does it for the news.
Cool.
You want to take another super quick break and then read emails?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah,
we can
I
just
could
keep
use
going.
another drink.
All right. Okay. All right. We'll take a break.
All right.
We'll be right back. Emails. Let's read them.
Oh yeah.
No, you read them.
Yeah, maybe you.
Well, it's like I read them, you listen to them. It's a collaborative process.
Yeah.
I went to New York.
It's a hot email collabo.
And I did a New York podcast.
Oh yeah, how
do
they do things out there?
They print out paper for everyone, and then they different people read different emails.
We should try that.
Nah.
No.
Huh.
I would read.
That's not the worst idea.
We could just
Yeah,
use
I
that
like reading.
screen.
Can't just take their idea now.
Yeah. Yeah, we could put
do
them
something
on there.
We have to do something.
We could do it better.
We're going to get a robot voice to read our emails.
Okay.
Automation.
I
This
saw-
is San Francisco. We're all about eliminating humans from the job pool.
I saw a robot cop down in San Jose at the mall.
See?
It was
was
just,
it
it was
like
just
the-
looking at a waste pit.
The capsule looking thing?
Yeah.
Did you call him Murphy? Did he
No,
pull out his
I
gun and spin it?
I
and-
steered clear. Of
Did it give you
robot
15
cop.
seconds to comply?
Right. Lisa was like, "Why are you afraid of that thing?" And I'm like, "You haven't seen RoboCop."
Can I feed the emails into Siri and just have her read them?
I don't know.
Yes, Brad.
Or him, depending on your Siri.
Yeah.
You know.
I had British man Siri for a while,
wow.
I think.
I've been using Australian lady Siri for quite some time.
Nice.
It's very cheerful.
Mhm.
First email. Will from Manchester. It's kind of touching on stuff we were talking about at the beginning of the show. It seems that we're in a generation whatever twilight, and that means I've got to ask not what the best game of the generation is, but what games do you think have defined this generation? Like for the 360 and PS3, I would say Mass Effect, Call of Duty, Gears of War, Red Dead Redemption, Uncharted, and GTA 4 and 5. Is it MGS5, Mario Maker, Fallout, Destiny, Shadow of Mordor,
Jesus Christ.
Hitman, PUBG?
Let us name some.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think in terms of like defining the generation and the stuff that we talked about probably the most over the set of these consoles, I think Destiny's a strong
That
pick.
was my first thought, and
wow.
not because of like raging Destiny fandom, which I don't have much of at this point.
It's
but-
more just
but
like
more
the-
just like the impact that it has had
and the
on-
cycle of it.
Yes.
Of like, hey, this game's bad. Oh wait, it's good.
Right.
Oh wait,
right.
it's bad again.
Like the amount of time it's been in the
oh
news
wait, it's
cycle.
good again. Yeah.
But also, I'm trying to think. Prior to that, like, was there another developer as kind of big and storied and important as Bungie who had gone full live service game? Because I came out in 2014, and I can't
Right.
really think of anything before that. And now fucking everybody is doing it.
Yeah, I
So,
mean,
like-
yeah, with like the modern games as a service
Yeah,
thing. Like
yeah.
that's the story of this generation,
So,
right?
yeah, totally. So, like, in terms of like a kind of the first gigantic developer out of the gate
Yeah.
with a big online only service game.
I feel like it's that, and then just like a new resurgence for esports,
Yeah.
or esports kind of reaching
sure.
into different, no, maybe not different genres, but you know, like Overwatch.
I feel like, I mean, at this point, like, generation is even too limiting of a term. It's more just like kind of window of time.
Yeah,
Because, like,
because like Mario Maker is the last generation.
if you wanted to argue about what hardware was in the box, like the Wii U doesn't necessarily belong with
Yeah.
these newer consoles, but it was contemporaneous with those. The PC is completely outside of that. Like, handhelds are separate. Free to play is a thing now. Like, you're almost better off going by like decade or something. Or,
Yeah. Well, if that's it, then it's Titanfall 2. What a game.
I feel like PUBG is probably in that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Fortnite is.
Well,
At that
yeah,
point,
I guess
too.
so. Sure.
They all get their 15 minutes.
But PUBG is the thing that made that blow up, made that genre blow up.
Yeah.
You know, Fortnite came along and did it differently and
Yeah.
to greater success, but
And now, like, what, you know, PUBG's success is on mobile in
Yeah.
other countries and stuff like that. Like, it's still huge
I'm trying to think
somewhere.
what else.
India.
Minecraft.
Well, Minecraft
crafting,
Minecraft
survival.
definitely, but that definitely predates this generation.
Oh, sure,
as far
sure,
as
yeah.
like, because that was out 2010-ish.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that first came out on like Xbox 360.
Yeah, that was
also,
that was out
kind
on
of even.
that was out on 360 quite a while ago. I've been thinking about this from the other direction, which is that in terms of kind of like the big AAA like publisher output this generation, it's been incredibly underwhelming.
Yeah.
Like,
it's which I kind of look at it as instead of the rise of indie games
totally.
in a more mainstream way,
Yes,
and
competitive stuff, indie stuff, like mobile stuff. Like there's tons of good stuff out there, but in terms of like
your big tent
the
poles,
EAs and the Activisions and Sony's done a really good job first party for the most part, so they're kind of separate from that. But like, I think for me, really, it's just how many IPs that started last generation have just kept getting iterated on fucking incessantly.
Yeah, like stuff that you would have thought would have been like, hey, it's going to kind of go away because we're coming up with something new, or yes.
Like,
and also cases where I might have thought that we would have gotten a full trilogy out of some more franchises.
Like what?
Like Gears.
Sure.
Which they Gears 4 came late enough that was probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
But we'll get to Gears 5, I guess, at some point.
Probably this year.
Yeah.
Gear sequels, I mean, Call of Duty sequels are kind of a given, but it's still wearing thin. Mass Effect sequels, Assassin's Creed sequels,
Right.
Like there were just so many big, cool properties that started on the last consoles, and then you were hoping for more of that this time.
But Assassin's Creed is a totally different thing now than it was then.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to tell you it's better or worse, because I think that they just kind of traded in the type of game they were making for something else.
Yeah.
And just said like, they're still anonymous.
Yeah.
And whatever. They kept some basic control scheme. It's not a complete break.
It's still a stealth game. It's still a stealth action game.
But the scope of those games is just totally different.
Yeah, it is. But
and I think like less interesting in some ways than the high points of early Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
But remember, we started this generation with that busted ass Assassin's game.
Right. Unity.
Yeah.
I'd bang the Monster Hunter drum.
Yeah, okay.
That it's coming to its own.
Yeah.
That it's changed up enough to make it accessible to
worldwide
the masses.
Yeah. I could see that. I guess we're close to having a pretty full reckoning of how these consoles have gone soon, because they're not going to be the new consoles anymore.
I mean, it seems like that it was a good generation for consoles. One more so than the other, but
business-wise, it seems quite healthy. But Philip in Virginia. Jeff has talked about phone Picross games in the past, so I thought you all might be interested in one I came across late last year. Konami, a company that used to make video games, put out an app called Pixel Puzzle Collection. Turns out it's a well-made Picross game where you solve pictures of the Vic Viper while listening to Barkerville. It's pretty great.
What?
I went and downloaded that thing. I haven't fired it up yet, but the App Store page says no in-app purchases. This thing is just free. Totally free. Like, it's a weird thing. I don't know why this exists.
All right.
Seems suspect.
Like, they very much are out in front of it saying, hey, we're not making any money off this. It's just free. Just download it and enjoy it.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Solving Vic Viper Picross kind of caught my attention, so
Yeah.
Thought I would put that out there. Sonny from Tulsa. With Days Gone coming and their awful use of the name Phreakers for their zombies.
Oh, it's so good.
I'd like to ask you about...
They should all have linemen's handsets.
I mean, I'd like to ask you about the real Phreakers, phone Phreakers. Yes. What's the coolest or weirdest thing you've ever done with a phone?
What?
Yes.
We built a lineman's. Well, it's not that we built a lineman's handset, but so you get it's like a thing you would put in a phone bank or something, like an operator would use. It's like a headset and then the phone bit is just a little cube, a little square with the keypad on it, and just the bits plug into that. So it's this really small, really easy to clip onto your belt sort of thing. And then you just plug the phone cable into it, and then you've spliced alligator clips onto the other end of the phone cable. And so at that point, you can go around and like crack open a phone can at some apartment complex, for example, and just clamp onto people's wires and just make phone calls. The catch
on their lines.
Yeah, on their lines.
Can you listen in?
Yeah, totally.
Huh.
There'd be enough clicking and noise that like you would use something that was something without a microphone on it if you were trying to listen in on people's phone calls. But yeah, you could totally do that. I feel like the catch with like stealing phone service or like that sort of thing is that at the end of it you're like, oh cool, now I can make a phone call.
Yeah.
Which at some point, even in the 90s, you're just like, I don't want to talk on the phone anymore.
Totally. I started to ask if this stuff even still works with a modern phone system or if it's still archaic enough that it doesn't. But on the other hand, who cares? Because who uses a landline?
Right.
Or talks on the phone?
Well, I feel like I was maybe like, I got into that stuff a little bit kind of on the cusp of it no longer working. And so depending on where you were. So I had quarter tones on a mini cassette recorder.
Okay.
So like basically like a red box, but just a mini tape recorder instead of an actual red box. And you could go to a payphone. And the thing that changed is, I guess in the olden days, you used to be able to go up, hold that up to the phone, play the sound of a quarter being dropped in, a little dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, and that would just work.
Huh.
But what I found is that didn't work anymore. But if you put any coin in the phone first, not enough to make a full phone call, but just like drop a nickel in it and then blast the tones, it would still work on some phones. Back when the payphones, there used to be payphones, which were little booths that you could go into and make phone calls for like money. You put money in the phone.
What are they going to do in that new Bill and Ted?
Right. Or when they reboot the Matrix.
For a generation of audiences that have no idea what a phone booth is.
There'll be a museum that has it somewhere, you would think.
They'll get a TARDIS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone knows what that is. And then doing that one time, an operator came on the line and said, "Can I help you?" And so I hung up the phone. We drove away.
All right.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. That stuff was always fascinating. Like all the like blue box, like, hacking PBXs and setting up your own voicemail lines deep within some company's network that they, would have trouble finding, and like all the weird party line stuff that people would do with that shit. Finding phone numbers that were like, okay, some corporation has a phone number they use as a relay. So if you're some salesman on the road, you call this 800 number and then it just spits out a dial tone that you can use to make any phone call you want for free, because it's, they don't protect it, or sometimes they'd have a basic password on it or something like that.
Yeah.
Like phones were fun and it was neat. But at the end of the day, it was just making phone calls, and who the fuck wants, You're
just doing it to see if you can do it.
Exactly.
Not because you desperately need phone service.
Yeah, yeah. It would only got cool when there was a while there that we had a laptop with an acoustic coupler, and so you could, Velcro that to the phone and then make, dial into
Sweet
BBSs.
music.
Then you could dial into a BBS and then say, "I'm posting this from a payphone that I didn't pay for." Except you didn't want to post that because what if you ever got caught? There, you'd be saying, "I'm committing a crime over here," which so it was just like just dumb. It was dumb across the board. So instead, you call a radio station. When they pick up the phone, you say, "Fuck off," and hang up and leave. And you're like, "This is stupid. What are we doing with our summer?"
All of this has led me to figure out what's up with Captain Crunch these days. He is 76 years old.
Good Lord.
Can he still whistle a perfect 2600 hertz?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. He has a Wikipedia page.
All right.
His real name is John Draper. There you go.
I knew it.
All right.
I knew it.
I started reading the novel Armada by Ernest Cline. It mentions an urban legend around an arcade cabinet called Polybius.
Yeah.
It was supposedly a widespread legend, but I had never heard of it. Did you hear about it when it was happening or remember any details about it? This is Nixon who wrote this in. We probably have mentioned this at some point, but since the actual game called Polybius came out, I figured some people might not know what's up with the actual history of that name.
Yeah, so there was just some dumb urban legend that I had never heard of until years later.
Yeah,
but it was like, there's a game called Polybius and the government made it, or or it someone played it and they fucking fried their brain, or whatever the bullshit was. And then it became like people going like, "Oh, I've seen that game. Oh, we need to track it down. It existed. It totally did. It was a mind control experiment.
Like it's the Kanomorph turned into an entire game,
basically,
but also more sinister.
Yeah.
And then chemtrail related.
And then Jeff Minter decided to make the game and name it Polybius, which is good shit.
Smart.
But Jeff Minter is kind of the only person who could make a game called Polybius.
it fried my brain.
Yeah,
Also,
totally. If you haven't played Polybius in VR,
oh, you should.
Oh man,
people should play Polybius.
Really something.
It's fun.
Oh, I should play more of that.
It looks great.
Yeah,
it's very fast.
Yep. Dylan from Connecticut. It's been over 3 years since you investigated the Skate 4 comment epidemic on EA's Instagram account, and the majority of comments on their posts are still about Skate 4. Will this ever end? Will EA releasing Skate 4 even stop this madness? Have you ever witnessed a meme persist this long without pause?
I got to figure when you think about the things that people could be commenting on EA's Instagram account these days, they're probably, for as annoyed as they probably were about that at some point, I wonder if they're a little more like, well, at least it's this.
This is good T-poses.
It's a good problem to have.
It's like, hey, people care about a game we're not making.
Yeah.
Fuck, but also,
Yeah. Yeah. Are they ever going to make it?
I wonder. You'd think.
Next gen launch game.
Like, what were the circumstances that led to EA suddenly being like, we're going to make a new Mirror's Edge because we care about you, the player, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
Like, we're kind of on, like, you figure Anthem, maybe Battlefield not doing great.
Yeah.
Are we on the cusp of, like, Star Wars, all that stuff? Are we on the cusp of EA having to go through that again and be like
a new
all
wave
right,
of...
We're going to greenlight a couple of projects that aren't going to sell, but we just have to salvage some rep here.
Yeah.
Take it on the chin.
Yeah.
There was that big statement. There was like the Andrew Wilson thing that was just
was that the one with the layoffs last week?
Yeah,
where he was just like, we want to be the greatest game company in the world,
and we're definitely like,
we're not there.
If you were honest with ourselves, we are not that.
Yeah,
yeah.
So the solution is to slash hundreds of jobs to make it look like you're doing something. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they have a plan. This email came in from Maxime. There is no body in the message. The subject line says, in all caps, RGB toilets, end of message. Any thoughts?
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Like, what part glows? What part can you control the color on? Is it just the whole seat? Is it like a strip of
I think the water.
I would think a
lighting
strip around
the water.
The bowl. Yeah.
Be able to light the water.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
And that would work.
So a
would
light
light
in,
up the
in
water.
the bottom of the bowl.
What if the water glowed and you could color cycle it?
Okay. What if when I launched certain games, it chose certain color schemes for it?
Okay. Yeah.
Apex now has support for my dumb light up keyboard.
Oh, great. Which keyboard is that?
Some Razer thing.
Okay.
I got a HyperX one that lights up and stuff.
That stuff is silly.
The mouse does too.
Who's looking at their keyboard when they're playing a game?
I like the idea of like only the keys that do something are lit up.
That's not the worst idea.
But also, I'm not 12. I don't need to look down at the keyboard anymore.
Yeah.
Is there one of those typing games that supports like only your keyboard that for the letters you have to type in pops up? That'd be fun.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could probably do some like gameplay stuff around like that thing.
You're welcome for that idea.
Yeah, someone must have done that.
Do it.
I thought it was fun. I want to say, was it Quake Champions? It does support it, but I want to say that when you launch Quake Champions, maybe only the queue lights up.
That's pretty good.
Or something like that.
That's pretty good. If they did more stuff like that, I might be into it. Email from Michael.
What's up, Mike?
Julian Gollop, creator of the original XCOM, funded his new game Phoenix Point on Fig and later sold pre-orders for Steam or GOG keys. After successfully funding the game, Julian contacted Epic and negotiated some sum of money for 1 year of exclusivity to the Epic Store. In the exclusivity announcement video to backers, he said that they'd be receiving the first year of DLC for free. Any backers not interested in using the Epic launcher will still get their pre-order Steam or GOG keys 1 year after release. Full refunds were also an option, but fuck that guy.
There you go. Fuck that guy.
That's a...
Yeah.
Epic's going hard.
Offering a Steam key a year after it's available for sale somewhere else is pretty bad.
That's a bad judgment call on that guy's part, but also, man, Epic is just going at it. Just swooping in.
I guess so.
Swooping in on the successfully funded crowdfunded thing.
Also, it was
just
a crowd.
It
was a crowdfunding game. What did you expect?
Yeah, sure.
Them to make good on the promises? That's not how this works.
Yeah. Seems pretty egregious, though.
Yeah.
Yes, that part of it is pretty rotten. Like promising keys for specific platforms. And then pulling out of that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Especially because like when they shifted Metro over, anybody that had already pre-ordered on Steam,
Right,
still got it on Steam.
Yeah,
Same day. It's not like it's impossible.
But if you're Valve, you're not going to let him launch the game.
Yeah, sure.
You know, if he hasn't already gone through the work of taking those pre-orders, if he was already in a state where he was taking pre-orders on Steam, they'd probably have to do the same thing and honor it.
Yeah.
And then maybe this wouldn't be a problem, but he probably wasn't up to that point. So,
Marcus from Vienna. I was listening to some recent discussions of the Stadia stuff and realized I hadn't heard much talk about something else that game streaming could impact. User-created and installed mods for PC games. Currently, the Steam Workshop is a solid haven for mods of all sorts of games, from Skyrim to the Total Wars, to XCOM 2 to Dota 2. And there are mod database websites outside of that with even more content, not to mention simpler stuff like INI tweaks or hacking games into having a decent photo mode. If in future a significant chunk of games move entirely to Google's or even some other streaming servers, which users presumably wouldn't have access to what extent do you figure mods might be on the chopping block? Tempted to say all the way.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That's the. I mean, there are ways you could, if you were a game developer and you really wanted to have some kind of mod support thing, and you were only on Stadia, like I'm sure that there's a way to support that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're supporting developers developing games in the cloud through that stuff.
It's not like they couldn't figure out a solution, but my jaded assumption is that if they did, any kind of mod support you saw on Stadia would look a lot like that Bethesda attempt at monetizing mods.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah.
Like it would become a store, basically. It would become another revenue stream.
Yeah.
Is my guess.
You're probably right.
Like I kind of doubt they're just going to let anybody do whatever they want.
Yeah, but user-generated stuff is completely and totally.
Oh yeah, and in the case of like something like was it like Jump Force, where like people are just hacking in characters left and right. You see that stuff like Master Chief and some of the other shit. Like you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. Bummer.
You can put in Shaggy.
Wow. Where'd they get that model?
No clue.
Now that's boombastic.
Some kind of public domain Shaggy 3D model out there.
Some of the Jump Force mods are really dumb. Some of them look actually very well done, but
it's still Jump Force.
It's still Jump Force.
Yeah. But there were like those PS2 Scooby-Doo games. Maybe there was a model they could have ripped out of that.
Oh yeah. I've been meaning to get into those.
It's
the PS2 Scooby-Doo game.
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, it's kind of
for
random,
a Halloween thing.
Sure. Eirik,
okay,
one of those from Norway. Through the years, the Souls games, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, etc., have somehow passed me by. Is it possible to start with Sekiro, or should I go back and play some of the original games first? And if so, what do I start with?
They're so different.
I actually had this question too, because I've never played any of the Souls games or Bloodborne games.
I don't think you need any history
I don't think
with
so.
This. I feel like calling this game a Souls game is really doing it a disservice, or it's just really...
It's very different. I mean, there are enough commonalities that you can at least see that it's the same developer, and that there are some concepts that are actually not that many. Like, really, all you need to know is it's very demanding and just expects you to learn a lot of concepts and
when we were
a lot of tight timing.
Last week, there were a bunch of people not complaining, but mentioning in chat that Ben's playing it like a Souls game. And I was wondering if I don't have that muscle memory or those instincts, if I'd have an easier or harder time with it.
You might actually get acclimated to it faster.
Right.
Is my guess.
But would that be like a good gateway to get into a Souls game then?
I think you could go that way.
Okay.
You could go that direction.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, they're pretty different though. So it's more like, are you interested in that theme of like, hey, here's a really challenging game.
Yeah.
That's going to be like, fairly demanding. But in a different way in those cases. I might almost say that like the Sekiro Bloodborne thing is probably an easier transition.
They're probably the closest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like Bloodborne has...
Because I like Bloodborne, but I don't like the Souls games.
Okay.
And so far I like Sekiro. I haven't played a ton of it, but
another email about Sekiro from Frank. I've been wondering, and I should point out, this was kind of a big discussion that was happening on Twitter off and on last week. I didn't catch a lot of it, but this email actually came in a good bit before that, so clearly people have been thinking about this. I've been wondering lately about whether or not Sekiro should have difficulty options. I'm not sure if you guys ever discussed this with the Souls games before, but it's been a bit of a debate in the community. Leaving those old games behind, however, I think Sekiro would be a good candidate for difficulty options since it doesn't have as many options as the older games. Since progress is locked behind difficult fights and there are no changeable gear sets or spells or any of the many different ways you could build a character as you please, it seems like Sekiro is more in line with other character action games where style and skill are rewarded, but difficulty options make them more accessible. Think Devil May Cry. What do you think?
Totally.
Yeah, I think this is a good candidate. We take a look at games like Celeste more recently. That has that difficulty option. That'll bring the difficulty level down. So you can actually complete the game.
And they spin that as like almost more of an accessibility.
Exactly.
Scenario, Of like, hey, if you're playing this and you're in a situation where you need this sort of thing.
Yep. Think about
provided people, it and
people that need that extra help.
That seemed to be where the crux of the debate landed, was the distinction between like technical accessibility features versus like kind of design intent and difficulty, and whether there's overlap there or not.
The way I just, if you're able to add these things to your games, whether it makes it harder or easier, and not compromise what you think is the core experience of playing the game, no one loses.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as it's not impacting like people, like I don't really get the, I get that people are shitty. But like I don't really get the kind of gatekeepery aspect of just like, I need this game to be hard because I identify as playing hard games. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like whatever. None of that matters. None of that matters.
There's some, I should have saved it. There was some Miyazaki quote going around from some interview, I think a while back, about pretty much addressing this exact issue. Something I hesitate to actually quote him without having it in front of me because I don't want to get it wrong. It was something about his kind of design intent with these games and what he's going for. Like the interviewer was kind of asking him, like, do these games have to be this hard? And it was something along the lines of the feeling he's trying to invoke is basically just one of success after repeated failure,
right.
Kind of like having to work toward a feeling of triumph or whatever. And if I remember it right, he was basically saying, like, if we can think of other ways to do that besides just making the games hard, then like we'll definitely explore those or something along those lines.
Games have had difficulty options forever, and I don't think there's anything. I think like the default difficulty should be tuned to what the developers think is the kind of what they want the default experience to be. And if they want that game to be more difficult, that default difficulty should be more difficult. But that doesn't preclude them from making it easier. The thing I always hated was this kind of like, it always read as this very macho fucking thing where Halo would default to regular, but the one difficulty up said, this is the way it's meant to be played.
Yeah.
It's like clearly not, because it would have been the default.
Yeah.
If you meant it to be played this way, that would be the default difficulty. Like it's total bullshit when games pull that specific thing. And so I think, just as long as games are tuned for the ways, so that the default is like, hey, this is how we think we would like players to experience this game. And like, hey, yeah, it's hard and there's a hill to climb and all that other stuff. If they can spin on that difficulty in one way or the other to then say like, hey, we've made some changes here to make it more difficult for people who do want that challenge and they want to be able to say like, I'm the fucking baddest dude around, or people that are just like, I want to see the story stuff, or I want to experience, the environments in this game, and I don't necessarily care about the combat challenge or whatever.
Right.
Like, just spell it out, be explicit, and say like, hey, this is this is how we've made changes here. This is how we've made changes here, and go with it. Like, I don't see why this is a problem.
Yeah.
Or I don't see why this needs to be a problem. It doesn't need to be a problem. But people like to be shitty about that stuff. And I think, like I said, I think sometimes developers have been guilty of like treating that stuff in a really shitty way.
Yeah.
Like the way Halo does it.
I kind of sympathize with the messaging around the Halo stuff because, like, clearly they think that's how it should be played, but also it's probably harder than a lot of people want to deal with. Like, I mean, in that case, it's just a question of how they represent
it. Always ends up reading as like, well, we the developers play up here at this harder difficulty, but you or the people at the publisher think we need it to be easy for mainstream. It just has this real like you fucking casuals like shitty vibe.
It's probably a step up from the days of like Wolfenstein, where the easy mode had like a BJ with pacifier in his mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of get the complexity of trying to message that to people.
But I think
I
think you can just come out and say it, and then just like say like, hey, and make people choose, as opposed to like maybe just don't even provide a default difficulty, because people will just tend to hit A and move through a thing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense in that context for make sure the default is going to be something that Joe I don't know, like it was like the average person who might not play a ton of games but likes the video games is going to be able to get through.
I like the idea of like an adaptive difficulty. Like, if you played against a certain boss and you die like a number of times, it doesn't say that it's actually changing difficulty, but it'll
I love the idea of that, but I feel like anytime you see that wheel turning.
Yeah, but if you see the wheel,
if you see the wheel turning, they fucked up.
Then I don't want it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the difference seems to be a philosophical one here, because 99% of developers want people to get through their games.
Yeah.
Like
why
again,
based
on that interview quote I read, it seems like their intent is to make people bang their heads against stuff.
And there are probably ways to do that.
Feels
but
more
still,
triumphant when you finish it. Well, that's what I mean. Like he seemed to imply that they were open to other methods of evoking that feeling, but didn't seem like he had a lot of idea. I wish I had saved that interview quote.
But I guess the other side of this is I think a lot of games do difficulty settings really poorly, where they just like are like, we turned this up 25% and this down 25%. Go with it. And
I think it's just like reducing the amount of health the bosses have in those games or something would not be the right. Like you need a more elegant solution for the types of games they made.
For Sekiro, I'm not sure what that would be. And I haven't played a ton of Sekiro, but I get the impression that like, what if you could just resurrect more frequently, or like slower dragon rot stuff?
I guess but. I mean, like the enemies recover their posture while you're resurrecting anyway. In a lot of cases, I mean, not every case. But I don't know how much that would actually help.
But it becomes about like, okay, maybe you can beat that boss, but the having to get there over and over again and just to get another shot at it is the tricky part.
Yeah,
like some players might just, if I can just pop up right here and try this fight again right here.
Yeah,
then while you're still fresh.
Yeah, maybe something like leaning further into the dragon rot stuff.
Yeah, like that's a system that could be fleshed out, I think, greatly in ways that probably...
Like it wouldn't be the first time, like remember Ninja Gaiden with the ninja dog stuff?
Right, yeah.
Like it wouldn't be the first time developers like shame you for putting
I think like the shame stuff I think is really...
Well, the dragon rot stuff is a lot more interesting and tasteful than that Ninja Gaiden stuff.
I think the ninja dog stuff played then. But I don't think that attitude...
It was the attitude era of video games.
Exactly.
So made more sense. Isaac and Kennewick. I just bought a Dig Dug cabinet. It's the first arcade cabinet I have ever owned.
Fucking A.
What are a few things I should know about owning these things? Seems like the optimal strategy is to never move them.
Don't turn them on.
Yeah. Okay.
Monitors will go bad. Just don't turn them on.
Yeah, I have no desire to have an arcade machine, but if I did, that would be the number one thing I would be worried about.
Don't leave them on, I guess. But
but I mean, just in general, it seems like those monitors are getting old, and it's harder to service them, and there aren't as many replacements out there these days. Like, who's making that stuff? Nobody.
I don't think anyone is.
There
are fabled, people out there that are able to repair such things.
Yeah.
But that's straight up crazy magic to me.
Yeah, but it just seems like it's going to be harder and harder to keep CRTs going as the years go by.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary. Like,
there was a while that I thought like, well, what if I, if I wanted to like save the CRT, which is like a terrible, it's like, why not have it? Why not use it if you're going to have it? But I was like, well, what if I bought an LCD and put it in there, which is shitty, but at least I'm not putting hours on a CRT.
Yeah, but at least to me, like at that point.
But like save the CRT and put it in when it matters.
Well, okay, sure. But that's the thing, though. You care about the
ridiculous
authenticity of the machine, and like at a certain point, if you're replacing a bunch of stuff on it, it's not the original machine anymore.
Oh well, yeah. If you're replacing a bunch of stuff on it, then why aren't you just getting a super gun and hooking it up to a TV?
Yeah, that's
or
that's
something like
if
that.
you just want to play the old
point.
games, there are easier ways to do it.
Yeah.
There's that fetishism again.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Like it's about having
someone with fucking 8 arcade machines in my house. It's a problem.
It's
a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Dig Dug, great game.
Yeah, that's a good game.
Never played it.
Love me a Puka.
Yeah.
Not so big on Fygar. Puka though.
There are a couple of old CRTs in my parents' basement that I thought for years I didn't give a shit about, but now I totally do. Because
which ones are they?
there's a mid-90s Sony Trentron. It's like 27-inch, or maybe I think it's 27. It's one of the ones that you can mod SCART into.
Nice. Okay.
And then I've got a 21-inch Trinitron monitor.
Very cool.
That has VGA. So like as stuff like the Mister becomes a big deal, like having those old screens with the right hookups on them is becoming important again.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, that HDTV I have, like the big old CRT, £1 trillion Sony. I guess people take it and drop those into like Beatmania, like 2DX cabinets or something, like, and so they found use for them there.
That's cool.
And so it's like I have it, and I'm like, this is awesome. I don't use it. It's £1 billion. It's taking up space, and so there's part of me that's like, oh, I should hang on to it because these things are only getting harder to get. But then I'm like, actually, what if I just got some of this stuff out to someone who would use it and
fair.
enjoy it,
that's
and
fair.
not just like hoard a fucking TV for no good reason?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, if I had room for that stuff and didn't have to move it across the country, I would totally use it.
Yeah.
That probably would get me to get a Mister and start messing with it.
Vinny got his.
Damn it. What am I waiting for?
Yeah, I don't know.
They keep changing version numbers on things.
So I guess the IO board 5.6, the main change on it is that it'll make it maybe a little bit easier when that LL Cool Joy comes out.
Fuck, man.
But probably not impossible. I don't know.
LL Cool Joy sounds so promising.
Yeah.
I just like saying LL Cool Joy.
That's a great name.
I spent my money
good.
on an electronic drum set.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's not a bad way to go.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like a full on, like with a drum brain and like
the
all,
module
like a,
and stuff.
like a proper.
Annalisa's a nitro mesh kit. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's got a full module. It's got 40 different, presets.
Did you play in the past?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I used to.
That's cool.
And my son took to it
Nice.
immediately.
Nice.
So I put the cans on him, and he knew exactly what to do with the foot pedals and stuff. And he was just banging out drums. And like I did like a flourish for him, like a drum fill, and then ended it with a crash, and he just lost his mind. It was the coolest thing for him.
It's the universal language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about either a Mister or drum kit.
That's probably
drum
the
kit.
right. You can mess with Jeff's.
I've got a Raspberry Pi.
Yes,
I'm fine.
exactly.
I'm all right.
Yeah.
For the most part, I'm good.
Here's an email from Chad entitled "Extremely Hard Question." Please name any 2 Division 2 characters by name and give a story beat about them. There's the terrorists.
There's the one.
You got to go stop them.
There's the one president.
That's the story beat.
Who? Yeah, I don't.
Poison gas or something.
There's the rogue agent, Aaron something.
Okay.
He's bad.
Yeah.
I
don't know, whatever. We've talked about it before. I know Clancy is kind of a certain vibe.
Yeah.
You can't get too far away from it, but I wish there was more just kind of fictional stuff to sink your teeth into in that game.
Well, I think that's the thing. It's not even there's just no big story to it.
There's not much
all.
world building.
It's going to wrap up and do a thing at the end of it,
Yeah.
but it's really just.
There's just not a lot of narrative.
Yeah, it's really just like here, there are a bunch of people that need something done, and you, as the silent protagonist, is going to go do that shit.
Like every story beat that I've seen is just an errand for you to go do for people who need help.
It's more about the terrorists we killed along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's a bummer to me because that's probably like the most successful launch of a loot shooter to date, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Like, it's a good game.
Yeah, I hit like level 18 in it, and there's a part of me that would want to see it through.
Yeah.
But the story has just been so nothing. Like, I even got to a point that, like, of the nothing that has happened along the way, at least this was like but even that just led to a cutscene that was just like, all right, I don't actually care about this.
Yeah. Boy, this email's from Brian.
All right.
I wish he had provided pronunciation of his town in Washington State. Snoqualmie?
I feel like I've heard the...
That's my guess.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to go with that. Why hasn't Nintendo put Gyromite on the NES Online? The weird asymmetrical multiplayer would be a great fit for the strange way they implemented online for those games. I know you don't actually know, but can you think of any NES games that might be fun to have on the NES Switch app? Pro wrestling and ice hockey are still fun with friends every once in a while.
Sure.
But I'd be hard-pressed to come up with many others that really need to make their way onto the system. Are we all just waiting for them to get SNES games working?
Urban Champion. Wrecking Crew.
Okay.
Decent 2-player game.
Double Dribble. Give me some Double Dribble.
Street Fighter 2010.
Yeah.
I just made that up.
Don't ever play that.
Yeah, no.
That's not... I don't think that's a multiplayer. I don't think it's a competitive multiplayer game.
Oh, yeah, I think he was just asking about games.
Oh, just games in general.
Scat.
Sure.
For me, it is SNES games.
All about that SNES?
Yeah, I
Who got
would
SNES?
extremely like to see some Super Nintendo games on that thing.
Hmm.
The NES games, for the most part. How about Strider?
How about
Yeah.
Strider?
How about
On the
NES
NES?
Strider? Like
Yeah,
that's
hell of a
that game. There's some substance to
It's
that
the best
game.
version of Strider.
There's like, yeah, you can spend some time with that. Like that's not the worst game to have in a portable format.
Yeah.
I mean, they are doing third-party games, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Some.
Okay. Well, there you go. Stefan from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Hi there.
I ended up on the Donkey Kong wiki page, and I didn't know how many Kongs there were. There are regular Kongs that were featured in games, Kongs featured on the DK cartoon, and Kongs from canceled games that are still considered canon.
Shit.
I didn't know there was a consideration of Donkey Kong canon. But here we are.
Cancel Kong.
Cancel.
I thought I'd make...
You don't ask him why he got canceled.
Yeah. I thought I'd make a game. Here's a list of 7 Kongs. Some are in games, from cartoons, canceled games, and some I made up. Let's see how many you get correct.
All right.
All right, here we go. Can't see this email, can you?
Nope.
Swanky Kong.
Can't read shit. Cartoon.
That's Swanky Kong.
I'm gonna say if you can just figure out if it's real or not, you get credit.
Okay.
But he does say where.
Swanky Kong is real.
Yes.
Okay. Any ideas?
I'm going to say
I
what were
guessed
the
cartoon.
options? It was like
released games, canceled games, and cartoons.
cartoon.
He is real, but he is in Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3.
Oh.
Damn it.
Karate Kong.
Karate Kong is not.
Not
No. Wait.
That's real.
That's real. And that's also a cartoon.
Chan looks highly skeptical.
I have no
I'm gonna
idea.
say
what
that's a
Kongs-
cartoon.
Okay.
A cartoon
very
Kong.
yeah, it's very alliterative. It's cartoon.
That's a real Kong, but it's from Donkey Kong Jungle Beat.
Lie. I don't believe that.
Okay.
Redneck Kong.
It's not real. We
That's too stupid. It has
Yeah.
to be real.
Yeah, I'm on that side.
Now you're thinking like a Kong.
Yeah.
That is from the canceled game Diddy Kong Pilot.
so it
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Yeah. Kitty Kong.
Like TT or DD?
DD.
Kitty Kong Racing.
I'm gonna say that's fake. But no, that
Kitty Kong. Yeah. No, it's not real.
I'm gonna say that's the fake
It's not
one.
real.
That's real.
That's fake.
From Donkey Kong Country 3.
They're all fake.
Grouchy
Donkey
Kong.
Kong Country 3 also fake.
Yeah, it's fair. Grouchy Kong.
The realist.
That sounds fake.
That is from the DK animated TV series. Bluster Kong.
No.
What? No, you couldn't even make this one up.
That one's real.
Also
That's
from the
real.
animated show.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Bluster Kong. Cowboy Kong.
Game.
Canceled game.
That is, in fact, the only fake Kong
Okay.
on the list.
Son of a.
Fuck.
I may have interfered with the game because I moved the fake one to the very end
Hmm.
to try to dupe you into thinking they were all real.
Good thinking, Brad.
Redneck Kong.
What?
Man.
What does a redneck Kong look like?
In my head, he looks like a lumberjack.
I'm going to
which is
type
not
the
even,
words Redneck Kong into Google.
There
it is.
There's some overalls, I'm sure.
Wow, there's even fan art of Redneck Kong out there.
Tell me more about the fan art. Can you see Redneck Kong's feet?
It says, "Howdy, y'all."
Oh boy.
It's from DeviantArt. Oh,
Exactly, yeah.
Man, dude, Swanky Kong is styling.
Swanky.
Huh. I should.
Did Redneck Kong have the overalls?
Don't let me go down. Don't let me go down this rabbit hole of
Rabbit Kong.
of long lost Kongs. Oh my God, the title screen for Donkey Kong Pilot is out there, featuring Redneck Kong. Okay, we have to move on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, shit. I lost my place in the emails. Too busy thinking about Kongs.
Got a Kong up.
Phil from Nova Scotia. Your discussion on the most recent Bombcast of Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li reminded me of the best/worst line in that movie, a line that my wife and I still quote to each other 10 years after seeing it. God, has it really been 10 years since that thing came out? M. Bison is about to murder Chun-Li's father, and his one-liner before committing the act is, "Even milk has an expiration date." Milk especially has an expiration date.
Hang on.
Milk is the thing most known for having expiration dates. Who thought this line made any sense? I am truly baffled and have been for a decade.
God, I don't remember that line, but
Man.
I remember very little of that movie.
Did you see it?
Yeah, at the drive-in, actually.
Wow.
Is the movie really only 10 years old?
I was shocked to hear it was that old.
In my head, it would be
That sounds about
Doesn't
right.
feel like that.
15-ish or something. Or, you know,
No.
I mean, then we're getting into
10
like
lines
the
up.
Raul Julia movie territory.
See, in my head, that's like 20 years old.
I mean, that's about right. Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe more like closer to 25.
Yeah.
At
So
this point.
I would think that this Chun-Li movie would be like
25.
somewhere between 15 and 20. But
I mean, I think it is the most recent Street Fighter movie, isn't it?
I mean, in the sense that there were two.
There's all the anime stuff,
Yeah.
I guess.
Ooh.
All right.
So I saw Street Fighter the movie opening day in theaters. It was Christmas. So I was probably
When all the good movies open.
Yeah, I was probably like 12. So we're working on 30 years, I think. Is that movie 30 years old?
Street Fighter,
The movie, yeah.
like the original one.
I probably would have been somewhere between 16 and 18 years old because I went to
Really?
a press conference for that
94.
movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
94.
Okay.
About
So I was 19-ish.
Okay.
It's getting up there.
Holy shit.
God, that's right. Kylie Minogue is in that movie.
Yeah.
Grant Bush, the guy that says, "I was in junior high, dickhead," in Die Hard, plays Balrog in that movie.
Huh.
He's very proud that he's in that movie.
Yeah.
All right. Shit, we have run long.
Oh shit. We gotta go.
I gotta bring it home on one more email.
Okay.
Come
on, Brad.
Crap.
Yeah.
I don't see a good last email candidate. All right, this will have to do. Joe from Hawaii. I'm going to Vegas in a couple of weeks and making the drive to Disneyland because I don't know. What are some great places to stop at along the way? I feel like you all have made the drive many a time.
There's nothing.
Not from that side.
Yeah, like Vegas to LA is just fucking empty ass open road. Like hope you don't break down type shit.
Dude, you already live in Hawaii. Just stay there.
It's not the worst.
Yeah.
Man, just
that sounds great.
Just go get a plate lunch and chill.
Huh.
Yeah, I can't think of anything from that. I mean, if you want to see the desert, which would be different.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
I was going to ask,
yeah.
like, are you saying it's so shitty that he shouldn't make the drive? Maybe you should just fly?
Oh, I don't know. It's such a
Rough.
short flight.
If you drive at dusk.
Well, how long is
like
the drive?
Drive
4
around
hours.
sunset
that's
time.
not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was a little more like 8 or something.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, drive like at dusk and like around sunset time. That's when it's the most beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll definitely see geography that you're not used to seeing.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
But not a lot of Americana along the way.
Not that I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
I think I've only done that drive once.
All right. Okay.
But I remember it being barren.
I guess you could see like Mammoth and some other mountains. Some snow. Yeah, you could see some
Oh
snow.
man, I thought you were about to say there were some tar pits or something.
No.
Well, I guess those are in LA, right?
Yeah. Like Caba's near Indio, I want to say. There's like the dinosaurs.
That sounds right.
See dinosaurs.
All right. Man, I made the mistake of clicking back into the inbox for the podcast and saw an email entitled "TSA stole my GB hat." which I'm very tempted
They
to read.
did not.
But I'm not going to read it
that's
out loud without having pre-read it first.
I wore my hoodie to the airport flying back from PAX.
Doesn't say Giant Bomb on it. There's just a little logo.
Picture of a cartoon bomb.
You're fine.
That's probably safe.
Yeah.
I think. I hope. All right, I'm going to add that email for next week.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Got something to look
For
forward
everything.
to now.
All right.
It's all over.
Yeah,
There's nothing left.
that's right.
Now we have to go.
Wrap it up. No after show this week.
Yes.
Ben hurt himself.
Yeah.
He's hopefully
boy.
feeling better.
Had a
He posted some pictures.
dental run-in on the way to...
Yeah.
Sounds rough.
Dental run-in.
He posted
is a-
pictures?
Yeah,
He
he
posted
posted pictures.
Oh, you didn't see it?
Pictures.
No, not
It's
yet.
something.
He busted
Yeah.
himself up.
Yeah.
So,
I heard about it in Slack.
yeah.
Exercise care.
Yeah. Don't fall.
Yeah.
Speedy recovery to Ben, but no
Mhm.
after show this week.
Yep.
We'll have stuff this week.
Get those voicemails in.
Yes.
707 exit flu is the phone number.
There you go. Not,
For the
not,
after show.
not a lot of games out this week, but we'll find some stuff.
Probably
We
not.
probably need to take a look at like Risk of Rain.
Put some things
2
together,
and
yeah.
Some other...
Yeah, we should do that Elder Scrolls thing.
Oh, yeah.
Nice to do a phone quick look here and there.
Yeah.
Have some streams.
Really
some,
phoning it
some
in.
stuff, you know.
Streams and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We'll see you soon.
All right. That's it for the podcast then. Bye.